That would come out of their budget.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're live.
Is it working?
Woo! I've only been messing with this for
an hour.
I would
An
just
hour?
like to confirm for all of the live folks out there that we did try to hop on about at 8 o'clock.
About
yes,
45 minutes ago.
Technical difficulties.
yes,
Just to go on record.
yes.
YouTube was
Still
not,
not on there.
YouTube
I
was
can
not.
see the camera.
Can we adjust the
It
camera,
has it.
please?
If you lean in, your hat is there.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube was not cooperating. All right, vehicle expense. So this is all of our vehicle maintenance. Yeah, really just vehicle maintenance, and if we have to take them in, you can see in vehicle expenses. Right, vehicle expense.
And that's covering how many vehicles?
That's just the, like their command vehicles and stuff like that.
Right, but how many vehicles is that?
So for command vehicles, we have 3, and then we have.
I mean, you're talking all the fire trucks and everything, right?
That comes
No,
out
that
of
goes
equipment
equipment
expense.
expense.
Okay.
Yeah. So vehicle
Okay,
expense,
so
yeah, I guess it's just Markinized vehicles in the command vehicle, or in the investigator vehicle. You can see our highest year was 17,000, the 10,000. Then we've had some good years like this last year. Those vehicles really haven't, they've been great. We haven't had to do anything with them. So I don't know how much you guys want to leave in there, honestly. You can see in some years it's, upwards of 10 or 17,000. And then this last year, we only spent $1,000 out of it. So
you go through 10 grand pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
depending on the vehicle, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
why I was
tires.
asking.
You never know
what could happen.
That's why I was asking, how many vehicles is this actually covering? I mean,
Yeah, when we get
that's not
to,
bad, really.
in a couple more light items, when we get to equipment expense, then we're gonna start talking about our other stuff.
Well, I don't wanna throw it out there too heavily, but last year was when we put my new command online as well. So that 7,500 could have been repairs on my old command
Yes.
in 23,
Gotcha.
24.
Yeah,
So,
cause it was nickel and diming us literally
yeah,
to death.
it started costing a lot of money, so,
Is your new truck still under warranty?
yes.
Yeah.
It should be a 3-year, 100,000, or a 7-year, 100,000 mile warranty, I think, something like that.
So I don't know, I mean, I guess if you guys wanted to adjust that one is one we could probably adjust, but just know if something happens.
I think you
with-
should leave it alone.
I was gonna say that was one. I'm like, I think
Leave
that
it
one.
alone.
It's a vehicle.
There's other areas we could pull from. That would not be one of them I would suggest.
Okie dokie, moving right along then. Gasoline and diesel, they're pretty self-explanatory. We've always tried to guess what the gas and diesel prices are gonna be, and they always fluctuate. As you can see, like with gasoline, it's been all over the place. Diesel's been all over the place depending on the year. So I would say those are good average, rough numbers. I did lower diesel by $2,000, as you can see, because this last year, I guess we've only spent $6,000 in diesel. You look at our previous years, 12,000, almost 13, over 13.
Do most of the big rigs run diesel?
Yeah, actually, yeah, the easiest way to say it is every vehicle we have is diesel with the exception of the 3 command vehicles.
That's like your truck.
Yeah, our vehicles, the investigator vehicle, and then 2 of our really old brush trucks are still gasoline, but everything else is
Okay.
diesel. All the ambulances are diesel, the engines are diesel, the rescue's diesel, they're all, pretty much everything's diesel, with the exception of just a few vehicles. And actually the new brush truck that's being built will be diesel, so we'll actually get rid of one of our super old brush trucks that was gasoline, so we'll actually be adding a diesel. We'll be getting rid of the gasoline and adding a diesel. But I would say those are just average rough numbers. You can see some of the years they've actually been over what we have there, and then this last year, I think we did pretty good with diesel and gasoline, so. I did lower, like I said, I lowered diesel a couple thousand. I left gasoline alone.
Should you have lowered it with getting the new one?
with getting rid of the gas and getting another diesel?
Well, we won't even have that new truck until we're probably this time next year, so. Our fleet's not really gonna change throughout the summer, cause
Okay,
it's gonna take them a year to
Right.
build the new truck, so. It'll probably be this time next year, actually, that we'll be excited about a new brush truck, we hope. We hope. So equipment expense, so Ernie, this is the one where you were asking questions, this is the line item that takes care of all the repairs and maintenance on all the fire apparatus and the ambulances. You can see in there that, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's repairs and maintenance on all of our big stuff. Part of that, every year, the engines have to be pump tested and serviced, and that's about $5,000 to $6,000 out of that line item every year. Because we have to get them certified, the engine certified every year, they're pump certified and all of that stuff, so. That's usually it's about 2,500 to 3,000 per truck, so it's between 5,000 and 6,000 every year, depending on what Robert finds when he's pump testing them. But that all comes out of the 30,000. Outside of that, I mean, that one's pretty self-explanatory. Since I have the whole quorum here, I do want you guys to think about this. As far as equipment goes, our engines are almost 20 years old. And they're gonna have to be replaced at some point. We have taken exquisite care of them. We have a mechanic that came from the fire service or building fire trucks. And he's done an incredible job taking care of them, but they're getting old. I mean, they're almost 20 years old. And you guys, this isn't gonna be warm and fluffy, but it is what it is. A new fire engine's about $1 million a piece. Okay, and we have 2 of them. They take 4 years to build. Okay, so if we ordered one today, we're not gonna see it for 4 years. We have got to think about how we're gonna replace those trucks, at $1 million a piece. And also knowing that it takes 4 years to get one. So if one of these 2 trucks, and we haven't even ordered one, if one of these 2 trucks for whatever reason, just starts going downhill because it's 20 years old and they get rode hard, they're fire engines. I don't know what that would look like to have a backup truck. Cause we have 2 of them, not that we run 2 of them every day, but if one of them goes down for maintenance, pump testing, we have an issue with a pump. We don't want the town without fire protection, which is why we always have 2 structure engines. We always have one to fall back on. So if one of those goes down and then the other one goes down, that puts the town in a really, really bad place as far as fire protection goes. And like I said, they're 06s. So we got them in 07. They were delivered in 07. Because back then it only took a year to build a fire engine. Now it takes 4. I'm not gonna go down that road, but it's a very real thing that you guys as our elected officials, me as the fire chief, we have to be thinking about how we're gonna get those updated and replaced and how we're gonna do it. The only grants that generally pay for something like that, there's really only 2 of them out there. One is the FEMA AFG grants, and those were competing against the entire United States. And if you look at FEMA's website, they will tell you, I mean, it's all public. You can see what they generally replace. They don't even generally look at replacing trucks unless they're 30 years old or to get you high on the priority list. And I don't know if our trucks will make it to 30, they might. But to get high on FEMA's priority list as far as an AFG grant goes, their high priority list is generally 30 years. The other one is SLIB. The county has used SLIB a lot. The downfall to SLIB is they're generally 50-50. So we could go to, for the minerals royalty grants, the SLIB grants, we could start putting in for those, but we're still gonna be on the hook for $500,000 because those ones are only 50-50.
Can we do a 6-cent tax?
You could.
We could.
You seriously could.
We could, but we
And-
would have to do a lot of education for the residents, for them to understand that this is, for recreational purposes, we are educating the public on why we would need to do this.
And I'll touch on that a little bit. So the city of Cheyenne, I've done some research into this. The city of Cheyenne and Laramie County do 6-cent stuff for their fire department all the time. And it's been very, very successful down there with a 6-cent tax to help their fire departments. But I think they've been doing it long enough. Their citizens understand, they've been educated. They understand that, hey, we need a new fire station. Hey, we need to replace 2 or 3 fire engines. They understand that it goes in, they buy the new stuff, and then it goes away.
Right.
They understand that.
Right.
I don't think our current citizens in this county understand that, and
There's some confusion.
there's some confusion as to how that works.
So,
They've been very successful down there. I know a lot of the Cheyenne Fire guys, and they've been hugely successful with itemizing the 6-cent. You know, these are the things that we need.
Yeah.
And they've been successful. It's an option,
But it
but
opens up a,
that's also,
Because that would go to the businesses in Evansville as well, correct?
that goes that. The 6 cents, I believe the 6-cent tax is everything in Evansville, yeah.
Okay.
if we, I mean, we're kind of opening up a larger topic of
We are,
conversation,
but-
but,
We're talking about budgets and I thought. the
Yeah, I'll try
engine was
to-
very important.
yeah, I'll try to stay within that piece. It's not a bad idea though, because within the conversations that the state has had with us at this point, they want towns and municipalities to be self-sustainable, but they haven't technically given us resources and or directives of how we are supposed to be sustainable. They want us to be sustainable within the next 10 years, but they haven't given us a pathway of how we're supposed to do that. And so the 6-cent tax, I know that everybody doesn't like tax conversations, but it is definitely an option that we could go down. We just have to be extremely strategic with how we educate all of the residents in understanding that A, we're not sitting on piles of cash just hanging out in a safe somewhere that we're, hiding from the community that's not really present in there. But the 6-cent tax, that is something that we probably are gonna have to talk about for this next
Well, and
cycle.
Or
technically,
is
they're
they're paying the 6 cent now.
Yeah.
We grocery shop
Yeah.
in Casper. we're
Yeah.
paying
that was gonna be my next question.
Yeah.
I mean, we would be voting on our own 6 cent. This has nothing to do with Casper. It would just be an Evansville thing. And
No, I think it would be countywide.
Well, no, we don't get any of Casper's.
No,
We didn't opt to go in.
We didn't opt to go in because at
Correct.
that point in time, we didn't.
and for our
I asked you
projects.
guys, we didn't have any projects or anything on the
Right.
list.
It
But
was very short notice and.
yes,
If we did our own, since Casper has one, it would be
Yep.
no different than Casper.
Right.
and from
Right.
my understanding, Casper is planning on doing something. I don't know what it's gonna look like yet, but there is conversation right now that they are planning on going forth with
And this is
what
just,
they did last time.
this is just my
what they did
humble,
last year.
this is just my humble opinion, but when all this got brought up a few years ago, from things that people have told me, I believe if things were itemized on that type of vote, we would have a lot more success than trying to lump it all together for the wish
Yep.
list of things.
Yep.
Just my opinion,
No, there's actually,
but
the County
itemizing,
Community Task Force does have data collection that does support exactly what you're saying.
you itemize it and let the voters choose, have a say in, okay, we
What
think this is
projects?
important, we
Yeah.
think this is important, this to me isn't important, whatever. Itemized, I think will get you a lot further than the whole,
And I think
Yeah.
that. I
let's
think-
pile everything together, that's probably not the right.
I think
idea.
that Dacia's onto something though, because if we're looking at a 6-cent tax and we're focusing on fire trucks, we're focusing on basic needs service type
Yeah,
of things.
those are
And if we stay
big
in
ticket.
that realm, I think that if we, go line item by line item, and if we educate the public and we explain why we would need to do this, and that we don't just have money just out there hanging out. I do think that we could potentially be successful in that route, so that's a great idea.
Or the only other thing is, my other question, just with that, because that's a big purchase,
Yeah.
is, and I think Mayor Machado would say absolutely not. Could we, our wonderful legislators that we've had those meetings with, what about the backflow? Remember they were talking about?
What are you talking? What is backflow?
They were saying there was some, that the state had put away like some backflow monies, backfill monies. Is that a no, Candace? Probably not. Probably not, huh? But the 6 cent, maybe, if we were to educate, maybe.
No.
Well, and I guess we probably need to stay on top of
Sorry.
it, but the ambulances are gonna be another thing. Both of our primary ambulances.
Yep.
um,
No, you're fine, you're fine.
It's a great.
You're
this
good,
This is
Tisha.
good.
This is good conversation.
No, this is really good.
But our ambulances are gonna be in the same boat. I mean, they're both 166 and 68, the two red ones, they're both pushing 100,000 miles now.
Are they the same cost as the engine?
No, they'll be between 300,000 and 500,000 depending on who builds them. Only, I mean, they're not $1 million.
Right,
Vehicles are expensive.
So if
Yes.
we were to entertain the idea of a 6 cent, could we potentially do it for the engines as well as?
You could.
We could, yes.
You could itemize them out, this is our
Correct.
primary ambulance, this is our backup ambulance, our primary engine, our backup engine. So that we always can provide that service to our citizens. That's why we have two of pretty
And
much
the
everything.
Natrona County Community Task Force, they have meetings every month on the second Tuesday of every month. They have also offered to help with municipalities with trying to help educate the public. Cause that group was a part of, kind of spearheading and trying to help Casper with trying to deal with their 6 cent tax stuff. But I think that if we were to stay within service-related type vehicles, like the fire engines and or the ambulances, I mean, if we're being honest, can anybody really, people can fight it, absolutely. I don't want to pay more tax. I get that, I understand that, but if my house was burning and on fire, I want to make sure that we have a fire engine. in
Yeah,
the
that or if I have a
town
medical emergency,
can
please
actually
come help
come.
me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Please.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
this is-
I could
that's why I'm
see, I
highlighting-
could definitely
highlighting
foresee
this section.
people doing the 6 cents tack for, we need a new fire engines. Our fire engines are 20 years old. It's still gonna take us almost 5 years to get it.
So it'll be
So
25,
do we-
26 years before we,
Right.
Before they're actually
in service,
displaced.
hopefully.
Right, and so if we did that 6 cent tax, would we need to wait until we have that million and then order? Or how,
So that would be a conversation with the company, but I
Okay.
can tell you that I have a little bit of insight into that. When we were ordering the brush truck, one of the reps from one of the, I'm not gonna start throwing names out, but one of the builder reps was at our station going over the brush truck stuff with us. And he told us that, yeah, it sucks that you have to wait 4 years, but one of the benefits that's come out of that is municipalities are now able to purchase the apparatus, and now you have 4 years to pay for it.
Okay.
So like $1 million truck, you could give them $250,000 every, $250,000 every year. You're obviously not gonna give them the last of it until it's delivered and meets final inspection and all that. But it has allowed for municipalities or counties or states or whatever to not, well, we don't have to write you $1 million check tomorrow. We have four, we have, yeah,
Spread
it's-
it out over 4
you can
years.
spread it out over 4 years while they're in the
Well-
build process.
And there's no
In
interest.
view of that, how long is it gonna take us at 1 cent to earn $1 million?
Right.
I don't have a clue.
And I don't either, and
So
it
we
would,
need to research that and have a good idea how long it's gonna take us.
and it would probably total about 3 million, because you have, if you figured $1 million per engine and then just say, hi, $500,000 per ambulance, that's $3 million. But that, I mean, it is what it is. I don't have any control over our aging equipment.
I mean, yeah. If it breaks, we're screwed. We
Right,
need something.
which is why we always try and have backups, but they're all getting older, you know, both of our primary ambulances, one of them's a
14.
a 12 and a 14, so they're newer, but those are also the trucks that go on the most calls. They're both pushing 100,000 miles right now. So they get used more than the structure engines, so they're gonna wear out faster than the engines are.
Okay.
Anyway, so,
I'm highlighting. No, you're just fine.
yeah,
You're just,
Daisha,
this is-
those are great questions, and
Yeah.
that's why I brought it up, because I wanted to talk about it. I want you guys as our elected officials,
No,
I don't want secrets out there. I
No,
mean,
I appreciate you letting
our
us know
stuff is
that.
aging, it's getting old, it's expensive to replace, it takes time to replace it.
Yeah.
And we wanna provide the services to
Yeah, and I
our
had
community.
no idea it would be
So,
4 years when you buy something.
Me
It takes 4 years to get it.
Yep.
That's crazy.
yeah, if we ordered a structure engine tomorrow, we won't see it for 4 years.
That's crazy. And to me, it's like, and you said 3 years ago, it was only 1 year,
It's been a year, yeah, 1 to 2 years.
which is, so my concern is, okay, so if we wait, say, another entire year, it's gonna be 5 years, 6 years for this?
Could be.
It could be. I think manufacturing has stabilized since COVID and, you know, all the shutdowns and all the things. That's truly why they're out 4 years now, because of the backlog that happened when everything got shut down. Because those plants, I mean, the fire truck plants, the ambulance plants, for decades, they've been, you know, it's a year to a year and a half for a piece of equipment, and then you shut everything down, and now it's harder to get materials, it's harder to get chassis. That's where we're at. It's 4 years now.
Where do they come out of nowadays? We used to have them built locally.
Well, so they would all be manufactured in the US. There's a plant for a company in South Dakota. The ambulance plants are Wisconsin. There's some up in Oregon for ambulances and brush trucks. I'd have to research out where all the plants are, but they're made in the US. But those companies have also, since COVID, they've closed a lot of their, like feeder shops. So now they just have the big plants.
Hopefully those are
Does
gonna
that-
open up.
Right, hopefully we can get,
and come
and
back.
if we got those opened up, I think maybe that time would go the other direction. But you still have to fill the backlog from the years of being shut down. So that's just where we're at. That's reality of it. So let's see, we're getting onto
License,
we're
right?
getting onto the easy stuff now. Leases and permits, somebody's vibrating.
Leases and
We
permits.
jumped a long ways down.
We're
No.
vehicle
Vehicle
licensing.
Yeah,
Vehicle license.
We're a vehicle license.
Oh, vehicle licenses, that's our vehicle license and registrations
At 0.
at 0. Cause I don't anticipate us buying any new vehicles that we'll need new license plates for, although we will have some come out of this year because of the UTV that we just got and had to license and register.
Yeah, I think it was like $12.
It was like 12
11,
bucks.
just under $12.
how do
Or
your
exempt
trucks
plates.
not have to, are you exempt?
Yeah, all of our government.
We just
vehicles.
renewed them and they don't expire till 2033.
Yeah, 33, okay. So we won't have to worry about license plates for a while. Cause we have exempt plates.
We can just switch the plate from the old brush truck to the new brush truck.
Transfer and that's,
$6.
it was $5, but it might be up to 10 now. But
Miscellaneous, everybody, that was a hot topic last year of miscellaneous, so I just put that at 0.
Moving on.
We'll just keep that one simple, it's at 0. The Medicare contractual adjustment, this is my Achilles heel of my budget. It gives me anxiety every year. So this is the money we have to show in the budget for Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance write-offs from ambulance billing.
Yep.
I don't have any control over that number. Lexi's generally the one that knows what that number is, and she's got it figured out, and it
Is
is.
that a number they tell you?
We collect about 50% of what we bill out. So if you go to your revenue and look at your ambulance runs, 1034, 200.
Yeah, but nope, that's not it.
What color's my town?
Go
So you go back to your front. Flip to
Oh.
the- After your summary, right there. Next page.
My revenue.
There you go.
Okay,
So 1034, 200.
1034.
Okay, go ahead.
So we got 650,000 in there.
Mhm.
And so auditor recommends your write-offs are about 50% of what you bill out.
Oh, okay.
So that gives you the true picture of what we bill out. And then we have the offset of the expenditure for what we write off.
That line item gives me anxiety every year and I don't like to talk about it.
I remember you saying the exact same thing last year.
She said we could bump down our revenue by that much and take it out of there, but then you don't see the true picture. The full,
It's not as transparent.
right, you don't have your broken out what we bill, what we write off. It would all be lumped into one. So she likes to see it like that, which I get because
Who is she?
our auditor.
Oh, okay. Auditor.
So
So we can't
it
change
looks
that.
bad.
So
It
we-
looks bad, but we do have the offset on the revenue side, so.
Just breathe through it, it's fine.
Gives me anxiety every year. Anyway,
But yes, we
PSCC,
have to
so,
write off a lot.
so PSCC is the 911 dispatch center. You can see we flow, so our fees are based on the amount of calls that are CS numbers that we go on. It's broken down countywide. I actually have not, I usually include that. I have not seen that from them this year, now that we're talking about this. About this time every year, they send out the projections in the fiscal year, the next fiscal year with all the agencies. I mean, it has like us and the police department and then all the other agencies on how it's all broke out through the 911 center, but it's all percentage based on CS numbers and calls that you go on.
And you guys fluctuate about 1,500 to 2,000 a month.
Yeah, we're pretty consistent between, I know it's kind of a gap, but between 950 calls a year up to about 1,050 calls a year. So I mean, we're pretty consistent right around that 1,000 mark. This last year was actually one of our slower years, as you guys have probably seen in some of my reports. But it's not gonna keep trending that way, I'll tell you that right now. We did have a slower year this last year, so our PSCC, well, you can see we've only spent 19,000 this year. When you look at some of our really busy years where it's 22,000, but, or no, we've spent 23,000 this year. So I just kept it right around the 25,000 mark. It fluctuates every year based on our call volume. So it's not a hard, fast, exact number every year. Leases, permits is zero, fixed asset vehicles is zero because we don't have any $1 million trucks in our budget at the moment.
Stay tuned.
And then equipment, that one we'll use, like, if we're getting a new truck and we have very specific equipment for it, we would put it in there, but, obviously that one's at zero. Insurance property, so our insurance, 5,600 this year. I just left it right at 6,000 because I don't think we should see a huge fluctuation in that, right,
Yeah.
Janelle?
We'll see an increase. I just don't know how
We just
bad.
don't know what it will be. Software support. One of the reasons that one went up is we're looking at doing a protocol and medication app. So it's an app for the phones. Our medical directors, because there's 3 medical directors in our county. Obviously, one of them is ours, but the 3 of them work together and talk together to keep our county as a whole, all the emergency services in our county under the same protocols, because we all work together all the time. But us, Mills, and Casper Fire are looking at, it's an app called Handtevi. And basically all of our EMS protocols could be put into this app. And then it also has medication disbursement based on our protocols. So like our intermediates and our paramedics, if we have some weird call where they're using some weird medication we don't use very often, they can verify that their math in their head is correct via their phone. I don't know if I printed the hand heavy. I just got it the other day. It's around, what was it, $2,500, $3,000 for our department. It was the cops playing with sirens. That's what that
Oh,
was.
because they just
scare
got the
the-
vehicle
They
back
scare
from
the
Utah.
crap out of me because they do it right behind my window. And I'll be working away and they'll hit that siren and it's like,
So we're.
Little jumpy.
yes, it's like, oh.
The increase in software support would be if you guys would approve that. I think it's a very, even all the medical directors are on board with it. They think it's a really good, real life, up to date, because even when they update our protocols, the medical director can go in there and make those updates. And it literally updates in real time on our phone. So because our medical director, they're busy. I mean, they're reviewing, the latest, greatest medicine cases, what's good, what's bad for patients, especially pre-hospital. And now, I mean, it's kind of, we have email, but every time they update the protocols, we've got to update the protocols, get them approved, and then they have to ship them out to everybody. And it's just, brings us up with technology, I guess, is where I'm going with that. It's a technological thing that could benefit our guys and our patient care.
Is that gonna be an every year thing that will have this app payment to have access to, or is it just gonna
I
be?
wish I would have printed that, and I didn't realize it wasn't in here. I have it. Hold that thought. I might be able to find it. There was a one-time fee to set it up, and then there's a maintenance cost after that every year.
Okay.
And I can get you guys more information
So
on
the
that.
one-time fee is the 2,500?
That's,
Okay.
I should have printed that, but my week has been hand heavy proposal. So our Evansville hand heavy proposal, so the customization and setup is 1,800. The annual access is 2,300 a year. So it costs us $23.90 a year would be,
To access this app.
yeah, every year. And then this year or this next year, it would be the $23.90 plus the $17.90 for your one-time setup and download and get it up and running fee.
So Leo, let's just say, for instance, that we want to get the app. That would kind of put Evansville at, what's the word I want to look for? If we were the only municipality in Natrona County that didn't do the app, that would place us,
At a disadvantage?
yeah.
I mean, it could. I mean, the guys right now, they're used to working off of our email PDF document.
But it would make everyone's life a whole lot easier.
It would be easier to have the app, absolutely.
To
So
stay in touch with the information.
The big benefit to a program like this is, for years and years, the paramedics go out and they see 2-year-old child that's got this thing, they need a certain medication. They have to really quick math in their head, figure out the right dose of whatever. They're finding through studies and stuff in the past that some of those doses weren't even correct. The cool thing is, generally when you go, especially on a pediatric, you go and this mom hands you a baby and says, "Save my baby." Your elevation goes like this, and now you have to have all that thinking. You can turn to that and say, "I have a 6-month-old with this going on," and it pops up with the medication and how much you see. You don't have to comprehend that while your mind is going a million miles.
To me,
an hour.
that makes
So
sense, especially when you guys are.
It takes a
in
lot
this
of
situation.
human error. out
I was
of
gonna
it.
say, it
reduces
takes
that
the
error.
liability away where somebody doesn't have to live with, I gave them the wrong dosage.
Right. Now, you still have to have the knowledge, because if you look
Yes.
at that and go, "Wow, that's not right,"
Yes.
because it still is a program.
Mhm.
But it does eliminate a lot of that. You have to think about and add all that stuff up in your head while you're trying to deal with the situation at hand.
And under stress,
Yeah.
it's
And
easy
you-
to make mistakes.
And if we're being honest, child or pediatric calls are some of the most high stress calls we go on because thank God we don't go on them very often. But when you have, when mom brings a limp baby out to you, everybody's stress goes through the roof because it's a baby, it's a child, it's a kid. We don't have to deal with that very often, and now you really got to make some really good decisions very quickly in a really bad environment. So I think that would help eliminate at least part of that stress on, I have to make a decision now.
So is that like, doesn't matter if you have 2 or 200 employees, everyone has access to this?
Correct. Oh, yeah, this is based on all of our people.
Okay.
That cost is based on everybody on the department having the app and access. to it.
So does that,
Does that answer your question?
yeah, no, it definitely does. That's where I was just curious, is that,
Yeah.
does it matter if we had only 2 employees or 200 employees? That's what the price would be, or it's kind of, or,
No, the more employees you have, the better the price is.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I didn't know.
And
that
that's
was
why
just-
we're trying to, and I don't know where Mills is gonna go with it, and I don't know where Casper Fire is gonna go with it, but those were the three, us and those 2 agencies were the 3 that were like pushing it pretty hard. That's why we have the quotes and we got the medical directors looped in and all of that. Cause that's actually probably a pretty good price based on the amount of people that want to have access to the app. Cause that's a lot of people cause Casper Fire, you're talking like 70 or 80 guys.
Right,
Mills has less than we do, but we're trying to do this
together, I mean.
together.
But, I mean, that's just.
So is that
it.
price our portion?
That is
Evansville would have to-
our portion.
Okay,
Yes, that is,
our
that,
portion of the big number.
that is our portion of the bigger number.
Okay, okay.
I think
like
it
it.
makes sense. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd rather you guys have the resources and the extra tools that you guys need to make your jobs a little less stressful. I mean, granted, you guys are in high stress jobs, but when I
We
think
can
about
mitigate
where
it
we
just a little
would, where we
bit.
would place money, that, I don't question that part of it.
And the backside of it, the medical directors, when we proposed it to them, at first they were kind of like, I don't know about that, but for the last 2 months, they've done a lot of research, and Dr. Barch, our medical director, she emailed me a couple weeks ago and she goes, I really think this is a good idea and I support it. So, even the doctors that oversee us as medical providers are like, yeah, I think this is a good tool for you
They
guys
like
to
the
have.
app,
Yeah, they like well, I think they like the flexibility of it because they're always updating our protocols, and now when they update the protocols,
so
it's
is,
literally an update
Real
to our,
time.
it's an update to our phone, and then we have our new protocols.
so obviously,
good
just more of the technical aspect on this. Do you have to have the internet for this thing to run? So if you're out in the middle of BFE kind of thing, or any of those, is it just the app and it doesn't
So
need
the
outside sources?
updates, yes, would require, Wi-Fi or internet or whatever, but once you have the app in its current form, it's the app.
It's there and you don't have to have the access.
Correct.
Perfect.
The
That's
only,
where,
the only place that's required is when they're pushing updates out, because
Okay.
they would have to have the internet to.
right. Well, and that's where it was just my concern is like, I mean, we are in Wyoming. There are so many dead spots. You
Yes,
just
there
happen
are.
to be in a dead zone. You can't access this
Yeah.
tool.
And I don't think,
Moving along.
outside of the update,
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we're
Then
good.
I'm in.
I've been watching.
That was my big thing.
and then the only other things in that line item would be Image Trend, which is our reporting software for fire and EMS now, and then Active 911, which is our paging and alerting.
Say that one more time for me.
Image Trend is our
Yeah.
reporting software for our fire and EMS calls through the state. And then Active 911 is what we get our pages and alerts on for our calls. Lets everybody know we're going on a call.
Okay.
So, on to the next page, the one-time purchases from 1 cent funding, which is not in my budget because we were asked a couple of years ago to break that stuff out separately from our budget. This is basically the optional 1 cent sales tax stuff.
Kind of things where if the 1 cent went away, we could live without these items.
Ish.
Yes. For like,
Ish.
yes, not forever, but
No. So the first couple things are all structure gear related. So we have our structure helmets, our bunker gear and our new bunker boots.
Is that in just that one-time purchase kind of thing, not a, you were talking about those boots of like every 5 years?
Okay, so bunker boots, so we buy bunker boots, number one, if somebody breaks a pair or if we're ordering new bunkers. And those are boots that we are responsible for buying. These are not wildland boots.
Oh,
These are for structural firefighting when we put our,
the whole suit thing,
The whole
yeah,
suit
that's
thing,
what,
Yep.
yeah, okay.
the bunker gear. So what we've done historically over the years, cause bunker gear keeps going up in cost. Cause as you guys, if you looked at previous years, it used to be 15,000, then it was 20,000, then it was 25, now it's 30. And this is just for 5 cents. So what we've done instead of, cause our gear has a 10-year lifespan. I could leave it up in our bunker room and our storage room for 10 years and I have to throw it away, whether it was used or not.
it's expired. Mhm.
Yep, it's done.
Mhm.
So what we've done over the years is try and break this out to where we buy 3 to 5 sets a year so that I never have to buy 30 sets of bunker gear at one time.
Yep.
Okay, so that, I mean, the number is going up because the gear is going up, but it's the same amount of gear every year, 3 to 5 sets. This last year, we actually got lucky. I don't actually think I had to buy a set of bunker gear, but I already know going into next year, there's 2 sets I already know I have to buy, and I'm sure there's gonna be one
Is
or.
that like a one size fits all, or you gotta
No,
get?
they're measured specifically for individuals. Yeah. Cause they have to meet certain requirements when we're wearing them.
Right, well, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I assume so, cause you're not gonna expect someone my size to fit somebody that's gonna be him, it's of just like, it's gonna be running around with everything's dragging.
Right.
So,
Or the flip side of that is he's not gonna fit into your gear.
right, he's gonna have a belly one.
So that's all bunker gear stuff. That stuff it makes me nervous being in this side of the budget. But I think it's appropriate as long as the 5th cent doesn't go away. I think it's appropriate to leave there, but these are also things that if the 5th cent gone away, you would see those back in what we just went through. Cause it's stuff we gotta have to do our job.
They're having some.
The rescue litter, so this is a one-time, literally a one-time purchase. This would be the appropriate Stokes basket, which is basically a foldable stretcher that will go on the UTV. The UTV we just
The one
got.
that we just got,
So it'd be a one-time purchase for the Stokes basket for the UTV, and then obviously the UTV trailer would be a one-time purchase because we only need a trailer once.
and does it have to be, I mean, is that something that we have to buy brand new, or we can look for a used one, or does it have to have a specific code?
So the one for the UTV is a very specific litter because it fits into the bracket on the UTV, so we can transport patients with the UTV.
Right, I meant the trailer.
Oh,
I
the
mean,
trailer?
yeah.
The trailer we could shop for.
We just need a trailer.
Okay,
If it needs to go
What
somewhere.
size? What size?
So we have to have a minimum of, I think a 12-foot would hold it, but I don't think you can buy a tandem axle 12-footer. We were looking at a 16 and a 20-footer, and that's, we could put a box on the front of it for tools and gas cans and whatever we need on it. So that price is, we could go into it a little more. We looked at a trailer that was a 20-footer for $4,300, but it has single ramps on the back. The one that I have priced here is a 16-footer, the 5,500 for it, and it has a tail.
like a gate.
So yeah, you
drop
drop
down?
the gate down and it's a ramp. And for the amount of people that are gonna, well, I shouldn't say it that way. With different people operating it and moving it on and off the trailer, I think it's better to have a large
Yeah, for sure.
target to hit than little targets for the wheels. So
It's almost foolproof,
almost.
Right.
So,
almost.
You
but
don't hit those single ramps right.
I see the single ramps
You in
becoming a really big problem.
trouble.
and we did just call around and get a price from one company for that particular price. But we can shop for it around.
didn't know if that was something that we could pick up used, or because of our specs, we had to get it new, or kind
It
of.
doesn't have to be new, it can be used, but we wanna, if we do used, we wanna make sure it's
It's in-
used in really good shape.
Right, right, that's where it was just more,
Cause it's gonna be hauling around a very expensive side by side
Right.
with all the stuff that goes into to building a fire truck or a transport.
Some of the
vehicle.
places will have to pull it probably, I mean, we'll pull it to a comfortable place and unload it and.
and you guys are specifically looking for a flatbed, correct?
Yes.
And then you guys will build your extra boxes, your
Yeah,
extra
we'll-
things that you'll want to do
We'll put a
for it.
toolbox
You'll
on it,
customize your own
box it.
stuff.
We'll put some standardized tie downs on them so that it has to be parked in the same spot every time to be tied down. And, and it's easy to do. It's not something you have to guess at every time you do it,
Almost.
Almost, yeah.
almost, yeah.
We had those on our trailer and the brand is Erickson.
Yep.
And so Ray's sister was up here and she's like, are you guys that bougie that you got like custom? We're like, no. Just happened to work out that way.
Right.
And they work.
They do.
The
They're in
ceremonial,
our camper now.
the ceremonial axe and pike pole are honestly, Captain Ramsey's the one that asked for those, but him and I talked about it last week, knowing I was coming to this meeting. We don't have to have those.
What is it?
Bright, shiny axe and pike pole for when we do ceremonies. And that's truly, they would be used for,
So pretties?
they're pretties. Yeah, so it's not a have to have thing, but it's, the mayor came to our last promotional ceremony and it was very good. These would add to that. We're being honest, it's not something we have to have.
So we don't
To
have
do
it
your
now.
job.
We don't have any of that now, no. It's not required for our job, it'd be a nice thing to have for the ceremonies. If we can't get it this year, then we can't
So,
get it this year.
It would be a ceremonial axe is just like a shiny axe. Well, I don't know if it's just,
It's polished and shiny,
it's polished and shiny.
and most
Okay.
of them have, most of
And
them
they're
are,
not taking it to a fire.
yeah, it's not going on the fire truck.
Okay,
Cause most of them are engraved, so we could have like our station logo, the town of Evansville put on it. And they're nice, they're
Okay.
ceremonial.
and what is a pike pole?
It's a firefighting tool that's about, well, they come in all kinds of
It's,
lengths.
This thing right here.
Oh, yeah, this thing right here by the ladder, so basically it's a hook that we pull ceiling with.
Oh, okay.
It's a fireman specific tool.
Okay,
But our world is axes and pike poles.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
yeah,
Does
no,
that
that's
help?
where it was just, obviously I know what an axe is, but I'm like, I don't know what a pike pole is.
Yeah, it's a tool that we use to pull ceiling and pull things down.
And the ceremonial ones are set up specifically for ceremonial kind of things, funerals and promotional stuff.
Yeah.
They actually have certain grips on the handles that tell you where your hands are supposed to be when you're carrying it.
Yeah.
So they're designed specifically
So it's for like, people are literally gonna just stand there with it in their hands?
Or they'll be displayed, yeah.
Okay,
So it's not something we have to have, it's just something that would add to our ceremonies.
But what we also figured out within this last promotional ceremony is the time and the effort and the pretties and the things that were put into that ceremony, even after the ceremony was over. You could feel the energy lifting up with the staff and that they were so thankful and grateful that the pretties and the things were.
They were there.
I was,
It was made
sorry, the
special.
only reason I was
It was
chuckling,
made
I
special
literally
for them,
looked down
yeah.
and it said ice machine, but in my head, it was ice cream machine, and I'm like, are you shitting me?
No, so
Ice
that's,
cream is very important to us over there. at the fire station.
I just-
It helps.
I looked at it and like, my mind read it one way, I'm like, no, and I was like, so I was not laughing at that, it was just, I caught that, I was like, oh my gosh.
so the ice machine, we've talked about this, we've talked about an ice machine for years, and we're always told, just go to the community center and use the ice machine. Well, what ends up happening is, they never go to the community center to get the ice,
Mhm.
because we get busy doing other things. So this has been talked about literally over there for years. I haven't really brought it over here because we've always tried to use the community center, but I really think we're at a point in time especially in the summertime. Cause we have coolers on the engines, we have coolers on the brush trucks to keep the water cold when we're fighting wildland fires, structure fires, all those things. Having an ice machine at the station would just work better. I'm just being honest. I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. It would just work better because they never get to the community center to get ice.
Where are you gonna put it?
Right next to the water cooler,
Where's the water cooler?
Right outside my office.
right
door.
outside his
Oh,
office.
okay.
He's like, I get ice.
Cream,
It-
I like it.
I really think,
It's cream.
I really think it would be good for us to get an ice machine finally, just so we have our own ice. We can get it in the trucks during rig checks in the morning and we don't have to drive 4 trucks up to the community center to get ice.
How
'Cause it-
often
'cause it
is the
never
one at the
happens.
community center even used?
Daily.
Daily.
Who uses it?
The
The
Meals on
seniors.
Wheels.
The senior center.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets used daily, like
That's why we're just curious, like,
even when I remember to put ice in the cooler in the back of my command vehicle, so at least I try and have cold water for the guys. There, you can tell it gets used. I mean, the ice is never, well, and it's convenient for me because I have a key to the community center. I can just get in and get it. The other guys, it's not that easy for them. So, the treadmill for the gym,
I know that a couple of your guys over the years have requested a treadmill,
they
but,
have,
but I know that we could end up getting a treadmill for way cheaper than $2,500.
so the proposal I got from one of the guys specifically that wants the treadmill, I have it in here somewhere. That's the litter. The ice machine. And the treadmill. So this is a, if you guys want to read this proposal, it was written by one of our members, who's eloquent in writing. It spells out why it needs to be that one and that expensive.
I already know who gave this to you.
and
I'm sure you-
what's the warranty on? Oh, it's these type, okay. They're self-propelled. Correct?
So that's what the proposal's for.
I think a treadmill is a good, but I don't necessarily think we need
I do.
something like this.
I'll leave that up to you guys for debate.
I just looked at it and I went, oh, I know exactly which ones those are, okay. I personally don't like this.
Just for argument's sake, if we were gonna do a treadmill, how many of your folks over there at the station would use it? Are we only talking maybe 1 or 2 people, or are we talking everybody?
I do not believe everybody would use it, if I'm being honest.
Okay,
There's a handful of guys that would probably utilize it. It would get utilized, but not probably like all the weight stuff does. If, I'm just trying to be transparent and honest. It would get used,
Yeah.
but it's not gonna be used like some of the other equipment we have over there.
I don't know if I feel completely comfortable with 2,500
Okay.
for a treadmill. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
That was way more than with I mean, I get it, that's kind of that they like, but
I think we could end up,
there's definitely a lot more better options. I guess I'm not sure what the warranty is on these ones, but I mean, there seems to be pretty decent
It's a
set
2-year
around.
warranty.
Okay,
it's only a 2-year.
yeah, there seems to be
There's
pretty,
a lifetime on the belt, on the resistance belt.
1,500 looks just kind of, I mean, mind you, there are some crazy expensive ones, but that was $8,000. But
For a treadmill?
yeah,
Well, with the
that
treadmill,
was a bit bougie.
with the
That one
treadmill,
runs
because then we've got
There
gym
you go.
equipment updates.
Yeah, so
And
those,
they're in 2
the,
separate sections.
yeah, the gym equipment updates, and I don't know if I printed Jones's request for that. Those were just little odds and ends. Like workout towels, what else, was there a fan? They were just really minor, in my eyes, really minor things, but it just make it more.
Seemed like he was talking some more bumper plates.
Yeah, I think we need to replace a bumper plate or 2. So the $600 is, they're little things, but it's probably things that they would be good to.
How
update
would
the
you
gym.
guys feel about 1,600? 1,000 for a treadmill, 600 for gym equipment updates. We take off 1,500 off of the treadmill for the gym, because you can get a decent treadmill for $1,000. And if we're really strategic, we might be able to find something out there that somebody has some gemstone somewhere that has a really nice treadmill that they just want to get rid of.
Can we go, say, 15 on the treadmill? And like, obviously, if we don't need that much, then we don't spend that much, but I would rather have it a little bit more. But that's just,
What are most of them running out
I mean,
there?
mine, right now, Dick's has got one for $9.99, but I don't know what the warranty is on it or anything else.
So you'd probably be
but-
looking at 12 or 1,300.
Well, no, because we're tax exempt, so it's on sale right now. It's normally 2,000 and it's on sale for $999. And we're tax exempt, so we're not spending.
Because we still have to think about that necessity specifically for this budget season. What are you guys thinking? What are your thoughts? I know that the treadmill has been a topic of discussion
For a couple of years.
a couple of years that I can remember now.
I think it's a good idea, cause I mean, like, if I was a fireman personally, I'd rather do the treadmill than run around the block. Personally, I'm just being personal.
Run around the block, there you go.
You know what I mean? Like, especially a hot summer day, I'd rather be in the gym.
I know when I see them out running, I'm like.
Yeah. I mean, I'm being honest.
Could we
Bacon
do,
in the sun.
Do you wanna do 1,500 for a treadmill? Is that what?
I'm leaning more towards like 1,200, but that's just me. I'll meet somewhere.
You
in the
just tell me
middle.
what number to write down.
How do you guys feel about 1,200?
Well, a lot
Can we
better
go
than
get the one from Dick's?
25, yeah.
I have a
I
treadmill,
know
look at it.
absolutely nothing about treadmills.
So 1,200 for the treadmill, let's just say 1,200, and then do you guys want to keep the 600 for gym updates?
Yeah, and
So that would put us at 1,800 total.
And those would be on 2 separate items, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So we'd have the 600 for the gym equipment updates, and then we'd have.
And
the
so you
1,200 for
said
the
that that was
treadmill.
like a fan, do they have
Well,
those?
and then towels, there were some bumper plates that needed replaced. Oh, and the bigger one was, I remember, the cable machine that they use all the time. One
Those
of the cable,
cords need to be
one of those,
replaced.
the cables need
Okay.
replaced on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I knew it'd come to me.
Okay.
And Jones was pretty adamant about that, cause they use that
Yeah.
cable machine all the time.
Okay.
Like it gets used, that's why the cables will wear out.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Portable
So
master
is
So-
everybody
The-
okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with the 1,200 and then 600. Okay. So we're at,
The Ram
18.
XD portable master stream, so this is a quickly deployable master stream device. Oh, I don't
what
know.
is,
Yeah, we're gonna have to get into details. So on the fire trucks, we have what are called crosslays. They're the hoses you see up behind the cab. Those are what we use for initial attack and I guess smaller fires. When we get into master stream devices, these are our bigger fires where we're doing more defensive operations than offensive operations. The Ram XD is a master stream device that we don't have to babysit. So it attaches to the hose on the back of the truck, the bigger hose, and you pull it out of its holder on the back of the truck. You deploy it, you point it wherever it needs to be pointed, and then you can walk away from it. And that
oh, so
guy,
it's like one of those big stand metal things that you see?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we don't have one of those right now?
so the only master stream device we have on our engines is if you look on top of the truck, you see the big nozzle sticking off top of the truck. So that's called the deck gun. That can be detached from the truck, set up on its own base. That requires 2 lines to go to it, but somebody generally needs to babysit that.
Okay.
This just gives us an option where that we don't have to sit and babysit it, I guess, so to speak. And we're only asking for one of them. I know we have 2 engines, but I don't think we need 2 of them. We can just move it to our first out truck, so it's on our first out truck all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we actually have quite a bit of equipment we do that with, already.
Would that be something that you guys would use often?
Hopefully, no.
One of those just in
Hopefully
case,
no.
that's one of those just in case kind of
Yep,
things?
that's for when we get the big fire. Yep.
Okay.
The battery operated positive pressure fan, again, that's only one fan. We have 2 engines right now. The positive pressure fans that we have they're getting old. I mean, we got them with the truck, so they're pushing 20 years old. The way of the world is to go to these battery operated fans. They're lighter and easier on the guys' back to move them around. And they actually are more flexible than the old metal stand fans that we have. You can use them for both positive pressure and negative pressure. The fan like rotates and tilts on them.
And what do they use those for?
So anytime a house or a building catches on fire, to get the smoke and all the carbon monoxide and all the carcinogens out of the house, we set fans up to basically clear the atmosphere
Okay,
inside the residence or the building.
So
Okay.
the good thing about battery operated fans is you can put them inside of a structure to help move air around inside. Like if you're in a hotel or something and whereas the ones we have now are gas powered. And so if you start a gas powered engine up inside of
Mhm.
it
Creates more problems.
Yeah.
creates
Might
more
not be a
problems.
good
So,
idea.
yeah,
Okay.
that's-
Now,
Good
this
news, bad news.
is only for one of them, right?
Correct.
Okay, let's just say, you know where I'm going with this. So let's just say for argument's sake, do we need to make your guys' jobs easier and safer? Do we need to, or are we just trying to be, as you
Like
said,
one a year.
frugal? Because this is an area where I don't want to mess with that, especially
So-
after seeing your guys' library.
Eventually, we would need 2 of them.
Okay,
But I do believe that just getting 1 a year is appropriate, because there's still a fan on the other truck and we've been using it for 18 years. So it's still usable, it just it's not this one. We could get the other one next year or the year after that, that would be okay. We would be just fine getting 1 of them
Okay.
at a time.
it's not gonna cause any safety challenges
No.
or, okay,
No, we would
I
be
just wanna
just fine
double check.
getting 1 of them.
Yeah, we're getting by with what we have now with the gas powers. It would just be nice to have one that you can.
we're getting by with lots of things right now, but there's just some areas after watching what you guys did the other day, there's just some areas that make me question. what
And
we
then the
need to
last
do now.
couple things on there, the C-can for storage, I know that's been a topic of conversation for about the last year.
Yes,
Because we keep buying things and don't have anywhere to put it.
What is a sea can store? Just like one of those containers?
one of those
Or
big,
big
huge
container.
containers.
Okay.
Now, when we had the discussion during Halloween, I remember, I think it was Ramsey or Jones that had said that they looked up pricing and it was around 2,500. Was that correct? Was that not correct? It might have been Mark too.
It
You might
used
have
to
had,
be.
you might have had different conversations with me as well. We had a lot of discussions back in October,
So
but
the guy who does these is actually TC Manufacturing out here on Nugget, and he gets them in, he cleans them up, he paints them. The can that we have priced here is a one-time ship, so they have cans that will only go across the sea once, and then they sell them. This is a 40-foot long, tall, they call them, which is instead of being, I don't know what the standard ones are, if they're 8 feet or, but this one's taller than he said it's normally the hot one that goes. I believe he said it was $5,800 for the can itself. And then they can put a walk-through door in it. They'll cut a hole and put a walk-through door in it for another $600. So it was roughly that about $6,500 for the can with a door. And they paint it and they make it look nice and everything. The problem is, or the extra on top of that would be groundwork to place it.
oh, okay.
We
The
can't
other
put it in the
question
parking
is-
lot?
The other question is, where do we want it?
Yeah.
The thought was maybe we put it at the lagoon or down by the shop, but now we're transporting all of our stuff across town. And
Yeah, I
it's-
thought you guys were just
So,
thinking about putting it out there.
one thought was to put it in between the buildings on the concrete pad. We can't do that because it doesn't meet offsets. With
I know a person.
with fire codes. The other thought was to put it on the north side of the building where the rock is, flatten all
On the north
that
side
off
of the new
and
building right
then
out there.
set it over there. Again, we're looking at offsets with fire code and that kind of thing. There may be some ways that can be mitigated, putting it right up against the other building, but, so those are just some of the thoughts. The rest of that cost would be for dirt work base, something to put underneath it to flatten it off and make it a platform. to
Well,
sit
because we initially started having these discussions because obviously you guys, in your guys' area, you guys have lots of different stuff and it also gets in the way of impeding in your guys' training time because then you've got to move things and it's become a little bit of a storage unit in
Yeah,
that
our-
area and then you
our
guys can't
wash
do what
bay-
you need to do.
Our wash bay has basically become a storage bay with 2 trucks put in it.
Yep.
With the bouncy house thing and all the Halloween props and the Christmas stuff. And then we also have walls that we have constructed for training, so we can actually set up a training and not have to go up to the tower and leave our area. But now all of that is there and we don't have room
And
to
then they can't do the
literally do
training.
anything.
You probably want to look a little closer at the zoning regs. I don't know.
But if it's not considered, so, if it is on skids, it's not considered a
Doesn't
permanent.
matter. Doesn't matter.
So we're talking about the zones permitting CCAN being placed in the.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it may not be per se an issue because we're public and we're probably,
Exempt.
there may be a little more leeway there. It's not something that we allow in residential.
Right.
It's just something to look at and probably run by Shane and make sure that we're,
And I mean, I guess if we had to put it down by Public Works at the lagoon somewhere, we could, but it's not real convenient. But it would give us a place to put all of our stuff.
Did you guys look into any storage sheds or anything along that line?
Permanent structures, no.
well, this would be permanent if we're purchasing it. It would be permanent.
It'd be permanent, but it could be moved around. We could empty that,
Permanent
pick it up, move it.
Yeah, I didn't look at
But we
building a
could
building.
put
I didn't
a
look at,
storage shed on skids, like you said, so we
Right.
could.
So our church bought one of these about 1.5 years ago. And we were looking at purchasing the materials to build a shed. It was, I think it was 16 by 20 or something like that, and it was the same cost. It was gonna cost us $5,000 for the materials to build the shed as well. So it would be around the same cost as.
I like that the mice can't eat through this one to get in.
And
I
to
like
answer
the
your question
C-cans because
before,
they're
the
solid,
2,500,
they're sealed
they sell 20 footers
aesthetically.
and they're that 25 to
That's why I was
$3,000
like, do we do?
But the
storage
20
shed?
footer would end up getting used very quickly.
Yeah.
Because right now, like, they're housing stuff, Public Works is housing stuff,
PD's
and
out.
PD is also housing stuff downstairs as well. And this would just place everything in one central location and give back the departments the areas that
Or space.
they actually need to do their trainings and all of their stuff.
And then I guess the last thing on here is the extrication tools difference. This one is unique. We got an SHSP grant to update our extrication tools. You were asking about those, the Jaws of Life, the
Yeah.
color spreaders for vehicle extrication. So we got an SHSP grant for 45% of the tools. These are battery operated, way less maintenance. They're lighter than the tools we have. They're just, it's new updated equipment. So SHSP paid for 45%. What I'm asking for is the other 55%, which is the 25,000. It's actually just under that. It's like 24,800 something. To get these tools purchased before the price of them goes up. Also knowing that I got impact funds from one of the projects in Converse County to pay the difference of those. So I'm just asking for the money up front so we can buy them in July. And then as the impact funds come
Which
in,
impact fund?
was it the Cedar Springs or was it was one of the two in Converse County.
If it was Cedar Springs or Anacline, then we've already received
Oh.
funds.
So,
Cedar Springs is getting ready to,
Was it Settler?
or was it, if it was Settler, we haven't seen
Cause
that.
that was the.
Or
newer
Dino
one.
Solar.
Dino Solar was the newer one. It was
I
the
think it was
the
Dino Solar.
Yeah, we haven't seen
That was the
anything on
last
that one
one.
yet, but
Yeah.
but those, all the money for these extrication tools, we got grants and then impact funds for it. I'm just asking that you guys will allow me to
Do
buy
it
them
before, yeah.
before the price of them
Yeah.
goes up, and then that money will be replenished with the impact funds as Lexi starts receiving, or the town starts receiving the impact fund. Okay, I figured
I
everybody would
mean,
be
I am,
okay with
I
that.
I'm good
can't,
with
I
it,
can't
yeah.
speak for everybody, but.
unfortunately, it doesn't just.
You're right.
Yeah.
But wait, it won't be money out of our pocket at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think the only other topic of conversation Candace wanted to have, and I don't, actually,
Yes.
I don't think you printed it, Lexi.
No, cause I was gonna say, I don't see it.
What was it?
It was the third attachment I had on the budget with options for
The additional
staffing.
staffing options.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, it was there. Candace asked me, the mayor asked me to give you
You
guys,
can also equally call me Candace. It's fine.
we're being live
We're
streamed and
okay.
all that, so I gotta be professional.
We're
Um,
okay.
The mayor asked me to, because one of the big issues that we have at the station is staffing and meeting minimum staffing requirements from what the NFPA wants us to have. So she had asked me to come up with a spreadsheet of numbers with different options on how we can curve our full-time staffing and actually be properly full-time staffed for a fire department.
Can we make some copies of that so everybody can have a copy?
Perfect, I
real
need
quick?
to.
So the conversation that has been had, I mean, I can't speak, for obviously when former Mayor Edwards was here and the conversations you guys had, but at least the conversation that's been had since I've been the mayor has been, and this also came from some of our folks who did exit interviews and our folks currently on right now, that there is concern when, and Chief, you correct me if I'm wrong, but that there is concern, so say for instance, they go into a structure fire and they've only got 2 people going into a structure fire. I actually got to see what this looks like, and that actually makes me real nervous, what I got to witness at that live burn. Highly recommend to go to a live burn so that you guys can see this in action. So when the next live burn is, let's
And we'll
get folks in there so they can witness this for
we'll
themselves.
have
But
one this summer for our new guys.
my concern is that if we've only got 2 people going into a structure fire and watching what 2 people have to do going into an unsafe environment like that, there's a lot of concern and there's a lot of worry from the fire department, from the guys over there, the guys and gals over there, that puts them in an unsafe position going into structure fires. And so we started having the discussion on and off throughout this entire time, and it's on my window in there on whether or not if we need another full-time firefighter to help offset the safety challenges and the concerns of safety when it comes to going into these higher risk situations. And I will let the chiefs kind of explain a little bit further on the back end why we would at least need to consider looking at this as an option. Chief, Assistant Chief, would you like to
That
expand?
doesn't mean anything. So,
Because this has been topic of discussion for quite some time.
yeah, so in the perfect world, the NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Agency, they say that every structure engine should have a minimum of 3 guys on it. And there's actually talk and push to put 4 guys on every engine, but we won't go there right now. We need to start somewhere. Having, the interns and our part-time guys, it's good. I mean, it's helping with our staffing, but the interns have to go to school. The part-time guys have other jobs. So the interns have been a humongous, tremendous help in staffing, but they're not always there all the time because of school and other things. The NFPA says that we should have 3 guys on a structure engine. They don't care what the status of those people are. We're supposed to have 3 guys on a structure engine. You have the driver and the guy that pumps the truck, and then you have the company officer and his firefighter or her firefighter that actually go in and put the fire out while one guy pumps the truck. When we only have two guys at the station now, which would be our full-time captain and full-time engineer, they have to figure out how to do all of that by themselves. And that's, if we're being honest and direct, it's incredibly unsafe. Because they're very limited in the options they have. And I mean, if it's your house on fire, now they're limited in the options they have and what they can actually safely accomplish or do to either put your house out or rescue somebody from one of your family members that's trapped in the house or whatever. So Candace asked me to put a bunch of numbers together. You can see on this spreadsheet that one full-time firefighter with benefits would be about $96,571.16 a year. I have, obviously, in a perfect world, we would need to hire 3 full-time firemen, 1 for each shift, because we have A, B, and C shift. That would go with, you know, each captain and each engineer would have their own firefighter on a shift. I honestly, I struggle with this because I know the budget of the town. I know our revenues, I know our expenditures. But on the flip side of that is I also know what these guys go through to do their job. And when there's only 2 guys on the truck, it's really not safe for them. If we're just being honest, we'll call a spade a spade. It's not safe. The guys have been pushing me for the last few years that we really need to figure out how to afford 3 full-time firefighters. We've been putting in for a SAFER grant that would pay for firefighters for 3 years, but we don't ever get it. We can continue to put in for that, and we will continue to put in for that, and SAFER grant through AFG. Well, I mean, the city of Casper actually just got one this last year, but it's only for 3 years. The grants are only for 3 years, and then you can reapply, but that's about the only staffing option as far as grants go that will pay for people, because most grants only pay for equipment or apparatus. They don't generally pay for staffing. That's one of the few out there that does help pay for staffing. But from a safety aspect, I think the town really needs to look at figuring out how. And I don't know if it'll be all in one fell swoop. I mean, if we said we're gonna hire 1 fireman this year, well, that fireman's gonna go to a shift and the other 2 shifts still don't have a full-time fireman on it. So this is a very real thing that the town needs to think about, and we need to figure out, how we add that staffing to the full-time side of things to make sure our guys are safe and go home to their families at night for what they do for us. Like I said, the part-time and the volunteer guys, I don't want to take anything away from them or the interns because they've been a tremendous help and they've helped curve some of this, but they're not a permanent solution to fix the problem. I mean, at the end of the day, they're not permanent.
Right.
The interns come and go. It takes time to hire new ones. This last year, C shift spent months with just 2 guys because of hiring and getting new interns in and background checks. Then we have to get them trained before they can really function on a fire engine. I mean, I can't hire you tomorrow and say, hey, you're gonna firefighter today.
Congratulations, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. It takes months of training to get these guys to where they're capable of doing the job on the truck. And the only way to truly fix the problem is to figure out a way to get full-time firemen on every shift. Like I said, that's not taken away. I don't want to take away from our volunteers, our part-time guys, our interns. They're vastly important to us. They help us tremendously, especially when things fall apart, in the wildland world or the structure world. We need those people, but they're not a permanent fix to the problem.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
I don't want to downplay them because they're greatly important, but they're not the permanent fix to part of the problem at hand.
Even 1 additional firefighter would offset a lot of overtime too, wouldn't it? In theory.
Would that?
some overtime.
Some of it, it wouldn't, yeah. be a
Yeah, it's not gonna
full
offset
wash,
all of it.
no.
because
But it would offset
that would
some
be
of it.
one
It
more
would.
person that if they call out, somebody else is stepping into that position, so it
So
could
it wouldn't
potentially
offset
There
much.
could be some savings.
Well,
could be.
where the savings comes in is where the savings comes in, honestly, is with firemen. I don't have to have an engineer or a captain to backfill a firefighter. Other part-time guys can backfill a firefighter, not at an overtime rate. Does that make sense of what I'm saying? So we have firemen. So if a full-time fireman, and they're the only person gone off that shift, it's kind of like our part-time engineers and relief drivers. There's gonna be some overtime there, but we're not gonna be paying 24 hours of overtime because they're not gonna be at that spot where they're at overtime wages.
But we have another position where they get vacation, they
Yep,
get sick time, so
Benefits.
our expense is gonna go up.
Mhm.
I agree that this is something we need to figure out, but
Oh yeah, it's gonna cost money.
Mhm.
It ain't free.
no, anytime you add positions, you got the added,
The added cost of commission.
But
of the
it's,
vacation time, filling that.
Pension.
and I don't know what the right answer is, because like I said, I know you guys have had your sidebar conversation, but
No, we were just talking that this needs to be like a separate work session where we
Probably.
can,
Yeah.
everybody comes to it and this is the topic we're discussing and
yeah,
this is what we're,
cause this is a big conversation.
Yeah,
Adding people,
yes.
the
Mhm.
financial side of it, this is a big conversation.
Yes.
But I put this together so you guys
Mhm.
could start wrapping your head around numbers and options.
Absolutely.
But I totally agree that this is a much bigger conversation than just this meeting.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to give you guys some food for thought as to why. And the importance of the full-time guys, their safety, their ability to do their job, but also the importance of our part-time, our interns. Those guys they're not a permanent fix for the problem, but they are invaluable to us, so we don't wanna, I don't wanna take anything away from those guys because they do a tremendous job for this community and this town. But they're not the permanent solution to the problem.
So, Chief, so we'd be looking at, if we're wrapping our mind around this conversation, we'd be looking at 96,000 and some change, so to speak,
Per person.
per person. So
But
then,
that's wages and benefits, the FLSA
All of it.
overtime,
Yep.
health insurance, that's the whole shooting match.
okay. So,
I spent some time on this spreadsheet.
yeah, no, this is good.
I'm very
Numbers-
proud of
numbers are
you.
good
You're
for
proud
us
of me?
to
Yes.
understand.
You and your Excel.
I'm learning Excel.
Yes,
No,
I'm
no,
very proud of you.
Numbers are good. So if we were to bring on at some point a full-time firefighter, we would have to cover 96K in order to bring on one person.
Correct.
Okay. And
And if you put a firefighter on all the shifts, which in a perfect world
In a
is
perfect
the
world.
goal.
Yep.
It's about, you see it, it's 289, 713, 49.
If you brought one person in, what would that look like?
that's a great question.
Well, and we've talked about this over there. The only real way to do it is one shift would have a third guy and the other two wouldn't. Because of their hours and FLSA and the requirements, their 4896s and how all that works. He or she, we'd have two options. They could either just go to A, B, or C shift, or they could work like in the last day of A and the first day of B. So two shifts were benefiting one day from one guy, but there's no way you would spread it out over all three shifts. There's no way. It wouldn't happen. There's no way.
And that's assuming that they didn't go over the 150 hours of overtime.
Yeah, this is base.
Yeah, this is base.
And Lexi, I just have two more questions for you so that I can keep wrapping my head around this as well. So even if we were gonna look for the 96K,
Mhm.
we can't, or can we? This is more of a question because I don't know the answer to it. Can we use impact funds to address the 96K? So we can't do impact funds.
We could if we asked for it initially.
If we ask
Cause,
for it
cause
initially.
impact funds can go to personnel, but that has to be,
Because I've seen that in other municipalities where they've been
Right.
doing that. That's the only reason why I'm asking.
it has to be the initial request. So when I
Okay.
put together my request,
Impact funds only
They only cover, they're not permanent.
12 months,
Yeah, they're not
18
permanent.
months,
I was gonna say,
maybe.
Yeah,
so I guess that
we
was a,
truly need to look at a long-term.
Long-term solution.
We can use that for a quick fix, but then we have to,
Yeah.
kind of like the SAFER grant. The SAFER
Mhm.
grant is a temporary, but we have to be
we would have
prepared
to be able to.
for the long term of it. once
right,
that
I mean,
grant
if
is
this
gone.
next year, if we got the SAFER grant and the feds were like, yep, we'll let you hire 3 firemen for 3 years, well, that's great. We got 3 firemen for
But
3
then what are
years,
What do we do
after
after
the
Right.
3 years?
but 3
Right.
years from now, what do we do with them?
So
Right.
then you'd have to upfront explain to people that they might not have a
Job
a
after
full-time
3
job
years.
after 3 years.
You can reapply for the safer grant.
Right, you can
after 3
reapply.
years.
Okay,
But there's
Yeah, it's
still no
still-
guarantee you're
yeah.
gonna get it.
Exactly.
yeah.
And we obviously would, if we ever were lucky enough to get the
Mhm.
SAFER grant, that's gonna
It's
pay
a
for 3
6-cent
firemen
tax.
for 3 years. We're gonna
Doesn't be the
reapply
same
for that
thing,
in 3
right?
years, but there's no guarantee.
The
that-
6-cent tax, like the fifth, is for projects.
Yeah.
You should
It's
not
not,
rely on
okay,
it for
so-
operating.
No, the-
It would have to be permanent.
Yep.
Yeah, the only way you could use tax, and I know tax is such a rough word around here, but it would have to be a permanent tax if you're gonna do personnel.
Permanent.
Not something that's.
The
rolled
6-cent
up.
tax is, in my eyes, designed for the one-time thing, the engine, the ambulance,
Yeah.
the citizens
Streets.
are,
Because it's an,
Sidewalks.
like they say, it's an optional tax.
it's optional, so, you know, we purchase our engines, it goes away, it's gone.
Yeah, I think
But
that needs.
For the
that
safety
is
of our
very good
community, the
conversation,
residents,
And
you
we
know,
need to.
oh, we would like to have
Uh,
good structure engines in case
Yeah.
my house catches on fire.
Are you guys okay with us doing a side work session on this specific topic?
Yeah.
Would everybody be okay with that, or do we have other
Yeah,
thoughts?
yeah,
Because
we
we've
got
been-
introduced to this,
or-
but yeah, I think we need to keep with the budget schedule. Yeah, stay on.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Get it, I get it.
I agree,
Okay.
and I agree.
Because we could sit here all day.
Oh, we
and
could, we
just-
could sit days on end.
This conversation,
Yes, that could be a.
We've been talking about this for a long time.
yeah, this is a conversation for a different day. I wanted you guys to be aware of it. The
Yes.
mayor had asked me to
And
make
I'm
sure we had.
sorry, I
To
missed
be
it. in the-
continued.
I don't know how I missed it. in the-
Yeah, that one will be to be continued, because I think it's a much deeper conversation.
Yes.
Did you
but-
attach it separately?
Nope, it was in my final email.
Yeah, but did you attach it?
Yeah, you had 3 attachments. You had your worksheet, you had your budget worksheet, this one, Lexi, and then this one.
I saw. I don't remember seeing that one.
It was all together.
We're all just working.
So
I
as
got
far,
2 out of 3. I'm
I know
over
we're
50%.
running behind. So as far as my budget goes, are there any crazy adjustments that you want me to make, or do you guys want to get through the rest of your budget sessions and then let me know if there's any crazy
We made,
adjustments?
I think we did the 6,000, we went down to 4
Yep.
on the repairs and maintenance.
Yep, I got that one.
And then
1,200 on the treadmill,
1,200 on the treadmill.
and then,
And then we,
That was really the only things we really changed. I guess if anything changes after you guys convene with everybody from the 1 cent stuff or my operating budget, just let me know. Which I'm sure Lexi will do.
I will do that, Leo.
thank you guys so much for
Yep.
being very organized and diligent with lining everything out for us.
This is why I put
You're welcome.
fire department first.
Ah,
He always starts us off strong.
I try.
Sets
try.
the tone, sets the tone.
I try.
We
Bless
we
you.
appreciate the organization.
I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you.
all right, thank you.
And if you have questions, please just let me know. Reach out.
It looks good as amended, so, yes.
I try really hard with it, so.
Yes.
I'll take a quick break and-
Let's take a quick break real quick. We'll come back.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
Gail.
guys.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Got 3 in general.
Bitcoin's up.
Yeah.
Almost
I
101,000. They go.
Oh, can we turn these mics off real quick? Sorry. that one on. All right, so we're going ahead and starting with Public Works's budget session.
Hi, Robert.
Robert has 6 different budgets, so we will start with the 3 in general fund. So it's right behind the fire department is where we're gonna start with PW general.
All right,
One's not enough, Greg?
What?
One's not enough?
I
I like it.
It's not.
He's like, I'm making things happen.
sir, whenever you're ready.
So Public Works General's pretty much shop-related items, things that I can't really apply to water, sewer, sanitation, parks, streets, things of that nature.
Okay, and how fire did it is they just went down the list line item by line item.
Okay, so we got our salaries and wages. Cure grade wages, community service salary. Overtime. Typically overtime doesn't come too much out of Public Works General, I don't think.
I think I have Mark in that line item. You're a part-time guy.
And then your various benefits, dues and subscriptions. So those are for, like our water and sewer licensing.
And for the salaries and wages, Robert, whose salaries and wages is coming out of the general?
That would be a Lexi question.
Mark. Our
Just Mark?
part-time, yes.
Just Mark is this?
Yes, because we have 6 employees, so we break it out. One hits each budget. And that's why we don't have the medical and dental in that one, because he's just part-time. So we don't have the retirement, we don't have those expenditures.
I just wanted to clarify so everybody knew how that works. And with the employee benefits retirements, the 1061-180. So the 24-25, it was 2389, and then the 24-25 is 7391.
That was what was budgeted for this year, and then we had staffing changes and
Got it. So
vacancy, so.
Okay.
But as of right now, Mark's wages are being pulled from there and.
Okay.
So as long as that continues on for next year, that's what we'll.
Robert, with the dues and subscriptions, what do you guys cover so the council knows for dues and subscriptions? What do we pay for?
Water licensing, sewer licensing classes, the various classes that were required to, they call them continuing education credits. So we have to attend various classes throughout the year to make sure that our licensing stays current.
So is this like every employee, you have $1,000 for each employee that
$1,000 per line item, per budget, yes.
per budget, so which is kind of per employee? Are we done? Okay,
So it kind of
Okay.
falls within each budget,
okay,
depending on what license. You know, if it's the wastewater, that's gonna come out of, the training will come out of there for the conference.
And the wastewater and the sewer license that we're requiring every public works person to have, that will all be covered in the 1,000?
That'll come out of,
That should come out of enterprise.
yeah, enterprise.
Okay. So sewer and wastewater.
That's why you'll see money budgeted in all line items for each budget.
So just to give the council a little bit of a background, so when I initially came on to be the mayor, and Robert, you correct me if I'm wrong, there was not a requirement for all of our public works employees to have a sewer and a wastewater license.
Correct.
And so we ended up hitting a challenge area when one of our second folks who had the sewer and wastewater license was no longer with us. Then Robert was the only person that ended up having the sewer and the wastewater license. And per EPA regulations,
EPA, DEQ were required to have 2 licensed operators.
yeah, so instead of us getting into that bind in that situation again, we had the conversation of every single person in public works, except for the part-time folks. All of the full-time employees have to have a sewer and a
I hope not. They
wastewater
just
license.
ding-
So we are
ding
never
one
in
out.
that position again. We're in violation with EPA or DEQ.
Okay, good, yeah.
Sorry, I got sidetracked.
That's okay. So that's initially the reason why we're talking about the licensure piece and why it went up a little bit, because we want to make sure that we're not doing the what if game down the line, and we're preparing and planning for in the event that we have staffing changes.
Just being prepared, all
I
right?
don't know if
Yeah.
Johnson was out here.
CYA.
Exactly.
All right, Robert, do you want to keep going down the list?
Registrations, as you can tell, I've never really put anything into that line item. Same with travel expenses. Public Works employees typically don't go anywhere. There have been a few occasions where I have had to leave town. And it's usually only me. Same with lodging and meals. Office supplies. That's really dependent on the cost of everything going up and down, and the utilization at the shop. Some years we use our printer extremely heavily due to locates and things of that nature. Other years we don't. It just depends on what our contractors out and about doing. Printing, I typically don't pull anything out of the general out of that. That's more for like your water bills, sanitation bills, things of that nature, public notices. Safety equipment and uniforms. I think that's pretty well self-explanatory. PPE, our shirts that we get, the town is nice enough to purchase boots for employees.
Yeah.
Up to a certain dollar amount. That all comes out of safety equipment and uniforms.
Is yours 150?
Sorry?
Is yours 150 for reimbursement?
For steel toe or safety.
Then we have our various utilities.
Robert, going back to the uniforms and or the shirts, does Public Works all have up-to-date town shirts or are they pretty worn down?
Well, we're gonna be dishing them out here again soon, because it's starting to be that time of year where we're not gonna be wearing our hoodies and coats. We're gonna be wearing just our t-shirts, so I'll
Okay,
be handing those out here soon, shortly.
I just want to make sure that you guys have everything you need in terms of,
Yes, I usually try and keep a big box of various size shirts at the shop.
Do you still have some on hand?
Yes.
you can continue on with the utilities.
So for your various utilities, phone, water, sanitation, electricity, natural gas. Fortunately, we had a real mild winter, so natural gas bill was pretty low this year. First aid and supplies. I like it when I don't have to spend money out of that line item. Repairs and maintenance building. So that one has been pretty much hit and miss. We got aging garage doors. A good example was I had to call in a repairman earlier this week, come and fix one of our doors. I couldn't get it to close all the way. It pretty much come off the rack, cabling got all skewed and just normal wear and tear of it opening and closing several times a day.
But everything is currently fine with our.
Yes,
garage doors?
everything's been
Okay.
repaired and just gotta,
I just want to double check.
small tools. I've had to have some discussions with the guys about our tools. There for a while, we weren't purchasing tools. Those tools weren't being kept track of or being taken care of. So the new thing at the shop is if you're gonna use a tool, you're going to put it away, you're going to keep track of it, and you're going to take care of it. I'm not gonna be buying tools that we're gonna be using once and then it's just gonna sit on a counter and collect dust.
Has that system been going well?
So far, yes.
You
Except for
use it,
hoses.
Put it back where you got it,
Except for hoses.
like kids.
Tool crib.
Professional services, I'm not exactly.
Custodial supplies.
You skipped over a section.
Oh, custodial supplies, sorry. Items to keep the shop clean.
Toilet paper, paper towels, stuff like that. Pine sol.
Toilet cleaner.
Any janitorial stuff. Your professional services, that's like your drug testing, stuff like that.
And then which vehicle comes out of general?
I think it's yours.
So it's a newer truck. Vehicle expenses have been low on that. I did have to get new tires this year though.
So, Lexi or Robert, when, let's say for instance, if we were to go over the $500 because like Robert has to get tires or whatever that looks like, where would the overage come from, just so the council can be aware of that?
It could come from the bottom line where something else in here comes in underneath. Because our auditor, when she looks at our budgeted stuff, she looks at the bottom dollar. She doesn't look at line items necessarily. And if nothing else, we would do a budget amendment, like we're getting ready to do for this year's budget, if anything went over. But yeah, those are the two options.
Then we've got gasoline, equipment expense. So that'd be the various pieces of equipment that we have at the shop. I kind of have that breaking down throughout each budget. So one budget is not getting excessively hit. And that's for repairs to various pieces of equipment. Licensing for vehicles, supplies and inventory. So our nuts and bolts bins, things of that nature.
Oil, filters.
Motor blades.
Leases and permits. Office equipment. Vehicle. Then insurance and property equipment. Depreciation reimbursable and wire work.
And Robert, on the supplies inventory and the equipment expenses, do you guys have everything that you need for Public Works?
I'll
in
have to-
terms of to make your jobs effective and efficient?
Usually this time of year, what we do is we go through the bolt bin and we do a spending to get everything current. Cause some years we use more bolts than others, it's things of that nature. It just depends on how the year went.
But currently, you guys have everything that you need to make your jobs function and run effectively.
We're working that way, yes.
Okay. Are there things that you guys need with Public Works that would fall under the equipment expense and or the supplies and inventory?
Oh,
section?
probably new tires for the loader.
Okay.
But that could come out of just about any of the line items that we have. Cause we use the loader and the backhoe. We use our equipment for just about every department we have.
Right, so if with him, he has the option of, he has a piece of equipment that he uses in every single area. We can spread that expense over every single area if we want to. You know, or he has room left in one budget, so we can pull that expenditure from that budget.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. I just want to make sure that the council is clear on that. There's several different areas that can be pulled from. Okay. Any questions from general?
Streets and alleys.
Streets and alleys, and that is Jimmy, his wages are pulled from there.
Okay.
And he is a full-time, so that's why you see the retirement and medical on that budget. And we typically do the lower wages out of the general to keep the general fund expense down, and then Robert's wages, Danny's wages, those will come out of enterprise.
Robert, the 1062 320, the safety equipment and uniforms, that
Why are we jumping so far?
because the employee benefits, let's see.
The
Oh,
first half of the page is essentially
Just the
employee
retirement.
related.
yeah,
Yeah.
we can't mess with those
Wages.
numbers.
Okay, that's where I just was.
Yeah.
Yeah, wages, taxes.
Okay.
Medical, retirement,
Mhm.
all
Pretty
that
fixed.
is,
Good enough, thanks.
So the 1062 320, safety equipment and uniforms, is that in this line item budget specifically for Jimmy, or is it specific as a whole?
As a whole.
Okay, just double checking.
typically just like the wages are budget specific.
Okay.
In that last one, they were at 1,000. Is there a reason that this one is 6?
I was trying to trim the fat a little bit, cut the budget down, cut my budget numbers down.
Yeah, and if you look in the past,
Previous spending has been
right,
in line with
600 is more of
$600.
a,
Yeah.
Robert, if you want to keep going down the list.
So first aid and supplies. You know, I dropped that down to a 0 because obviously we haven't really been pulling out of that one from streets and alleys.
yeah, typically if they, what's the outfit that comes in and refills your,
I want to say it's Wyoming
Wyoming
First
First
Aid, but
Aid.
I'm sure it's
Yeah.
wrong.
no, I think it's why, cause they changed their name. They'll come refill, and I usually pull that out of the general because it's at the shop, like they
Okay.
refill.
Everybody
the-
gets access to it.
And like I said, it's a good thing when that is a 0.
That's always a good thing.
Yours is far cheaper than when the PD has theirs refilled.
Mhm.
Theirs is usually pretty.
Well, and we're also super glue and duct duct tape kind of guys too, so.
Which we're going to get to that.
That's its own line item. Super glue and duct tape. You're like, why are we spending
Story
20
for
grand
another
on
time,
super
but-
glue and duct tape?
Don't
Well,
forget the electrical-
Because they get
Network
crafty
should-
over there.
You know, fire.
All right, so
resistant shirt, network
repairs
duct tape.
and
Repairs and maintenance, streets and alleys.
Cause apparently he had a hole in it. And
So
then-
this one, this will be your
So classy.
alley holes, your potholes, things of that nature. I do have a couple, they're not bad, but they need to be rectified. When the fiber optic companies had come through town laying some fiber optics. I'm not exactly sure which companies did it, but we have some sinkholes forming, so we gotta get those sinkholes rectified.
Is that something we charge them back?
If I could prove which one did it.
Cause we had
How
two.
many do we have putting in fiber optics? I know Mountain West did,
I know of at least 3.
really.
No, it should have only been, well, depending on where you're talking about. I know right in town it was
Mountain West.
Mountain West and Visionary. And Visionary, because are you talking over there by the school?
There's a couple of spots.
Because I thought that was Visionary over in there.
I've got an area down by the school, I got an area off Copper, I've got some stuff out in Brookhurst that needs to be addressed.
And Brookhurst is in our jurisdiction.
But I still need to protect my utilities.
Right, but are you talking street maintenance?
For this line item, yes. I'm not gonna do anything with the streets in Brookhurst,
Yeah.
but my point is there's been various companies working in the area.
So Robert, is the increase from the 24,927 to 30,000, is that increase covering the potential cost for
That's what he spent.
The
He had
24,000 is
budgeted
what was spent.
yeah,
I have 30,000 budgeted for this current budget
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
And I left it at 30,000,
okay, just in case to cover the offset of
yes.
inflation
Well,
or,
and we
He
still have,
probably,
we
yeah,
still have
extra
some of the
costs.
year left to go.
okay,
I'd
yeah.
say he will probably hit that 30,000 at least this year.
Probably.
We're
Easily.
getting into maintenance
Yeah.
season right now, so.
All right.
Small tools I'll be hitting pretty hard this year for streets and alleys. After I've had my discussion with the guys, I think we'll start utilizing that line item a little bit more. Professional services. And vehicle expenses, I think that's another newer vehicle.
Be Danny's.
And that one is going to need tires as well.
Okay.
So this one's gonna be a little bit different. So, with streets and alleys, water distribution, and, my various other departments, we charge out gasoline and diesel fuel, depending on what it is that we're working on. So a good example would be the Vector truck. If we're running the Vector truck, doing sewer or annual jetting, a lot of that fuel cost is gonna go towards, my collections budget. If we're doing a lot of soft digging, things of that nature, a lot of those fuel costs will go to water distribution.
Okay.
And a lot of the reason why I budgeted so high was, fuel prices about this time last year were getting a little crazy, I think. if I remember correctly. I don't know, I've slept a few times since then. Same deal with equipment expense. Typically our streets and alleys, water, sewer, and sanitation, those are gonna be higher for your equipment expense.
Okay.
Omissions, ER liability.
Where are you at, Robert?
Errors and
Oh,
omissions.
okay, never mind. 1062,871.
Did you want me to read the line item numbers or the line item names?
There's zeros.
You're fine. We're following you.
So I knocked that down, back down to 0.
And then can you touch on the reimbursable expense?
Oh, thank you. I missed that one. So reimbursable expense. Right before COVID hit, the state reimbursed the town for maintenance and that we had done for the highway. So for, when I say maintenance, I'm saying snow plowing and mowing. So that was monies provided by the state. I keep that in there. That's where my salt sand and that comes from, and that's where, repairs to our 4320s. And, we should probably look at doing something with those in the next couple of years, cause those are starting to age out. So, yeah, that's for our salt sand and our 4320 parts and maintenance.
Okay, which section did you say that we need to start looking at the next couple of years?
4320 tractors. The tractors we use to mow the highway. We also utilize them to mow our large prairie areas. So like Reshaw Park. On the south side, not the north side, we use regular mowers.
How many do we currently have and how many are we going to need to replace in the next couple of years?
We have 2, and we could probably replace one year and one the next.
Do you know what
And-
a price on those are?
I did not price anything out this year. I was asked to
Yep.
slash the budget, so.
Yep.
If it was a want or an ask, I didn't even bother.
Would you be able to at least send us just some information on what it would cost so that we can start wrapping our mind around it for down the line? But the 2 that we currently have are still functional, they run, there's no problems with them.
They function, they run, they are John Deere tractors. So I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with that, but parts are extremely expensive.
Yep.
The AC units are essentially useless now. And
The what?
I realize
So what is useless?
the AC units,
Really?
yes. I realize I say that and it sounds like we're acting like a bunch of babies,
Oh,
but they are enclosed cabs and 90% of it is glass.
you're in a greenhouse.
Yes, and they get a little toasty. We've had the ACs rebuilt once that I know of since I've taken over, and I think we've even done it once when it was either Ron or Paul. They're just, the AC units are housed in the roof. So, I mean, you got hot air up top, hot air down below, so the ACs aren't very effective.
In the middle.
Now, let's just say for argument's sake, if we were going to replace one of these tractors, could it come out of the reimbursable expense? Considering it looks like in the years past, we haven't utilized that area. I'm asking more for a question, just to wrap my mind around it.
As far as I understand how things work, that would be suitable. That would be more of a Lexi question.
Yeah, but We used to use that line item because we received money from the state for maintenance.
Okay.
And so that's why that line item is still utilized, so we're not actually receiving any money back from that.
Okay.
We continued using that line item in case they decided they would like to start reimbursing us again, but they have not, and I don't anticipate that they will.
Good information.
But
Has
we
the,
used to receive, I think it was 54,000 a year for plowing,
It was
mowing.
based on per capita for
Yeah.
snow plowing and mowing of the highway, and they quit that 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It was right around COVID, I think.
Yeah, right when COVID hit. How old are these numbers?
Which ones?
The current year actual?
Into March, I believe.
Cause I have ordered another truck of Slice, so that number should be higher.
And
You're
it's
talking
gonna
about
be
the
more
ice
than
slicer?
just one load, because they were sending the emails to
To Paul
Colby,
Colby.
yeah.
And so I had to pay 2 from January or something,
Yeah.
October.
Few
November,
So Robert,
yeah.
just to remind the council, how much was the ice slicer?
I don't have that
About
information.
20,000
20,000.
between the two. Cause it was like 9,800 for
And again,
each.
mild winter, so, I mean, as it snows more, as it gets colder,
Numbers change.
yep.
Understood.
Any questions for that section?
Parks.
Moving right along.
I'm gonna have to beg my leave here.
Thank you for
Are you
coming,
coming
sir.
back?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's a big maybe.
Okay, we'll probably pick back up at like 1-ish. After Robert.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, yeah, if I make it back, it's probably gonna be closer to. So who do we have on schedule this afternoon?
Water treatment and then court.
Water at 1?
Water treatment. And then court, which
Okay,
not a lot in
I
there.
may or may
In
not
that
be
budget.
back.
And then tomorrow morning, we have the police first thing.
I'll be here in the morning.
Well, if you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to reach out.
I know how to reach.
And don't lose your booklet. I put a lot of man hours into those.
It's impressive.
Yes, you
It is,
did.
Thank you.
With my life.
That's confidential.
All right, later.
See you later. Ernie.
Bye, Ernie.
All right, sir.
Be on to parks.
Yep.
Yes, and that Joe's wages come out of parks.
So on the salaries and wages registration section of the parks budget, Joe is licensed as a collections operator, and he's working on getting his water. He's about 3/4 of the way through his book right now.
And he's already gotten his sewer.
Yes.
Congratulations to him.
And the water sewer sanitation, that when we water all the parks and stuff, we do have meters everywhere for the water that we use, so we know how much we're using, so. It's kind of
And
a pass through in and out, but we do keep
it's
track of.
recorded.
And the big jump in that line item is we've added a pretty good section of irrigation.
All that comes out of there.
Electricity, I'm hoping will come down. Well, no, we've shut that, padlocked that power source for the,
Oh, that was $25 a month, I think, Stone King Park. Pretty much a service fee.
so it wasn't even, oh. Okay, well, never
You
mind.
will
then.
save a little bit of money though,
Yeah.
Robert.
Not enough to make a
He's getting
dent in
excited.
About
anything.
12 kilowatts.
Yeah.
I mean, we could hope that it goes down, but
Repairs and maintenance parts.
Agreed.
So that would be any repairs like the irrigation systems,
The structures,
yeah.
what do you call them?
The playground or repairs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what are those, why am I drawing a blank?
shelters?
Yes, thank you. I'm like, why is my brain just like, shut off? Yeah,
you know,
stuff like that.
those,
Yeah, I know, I'm like, the things that you sit under.
And again, I realize we're probably about halfway, but we're getting ready to, it's getting back into that season, so
Mhm.
we'll be hitting that line item
Parks, yeah, parks
starting today.
gets hit at the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year.
Are you putting meters on,
Yes,
or did you do that yesterday?
they did that yesterday.
You did?
When I went and checked everything today, everything was running.
Good. Didn't call me.
Oh, you didn't?
No, no one called me.
Okay,
So were they on then and
yes, they
running?
were on. They were on and running. I drove by this morning.
Do I need to adjust heads?
We might, if you want, I can meet you down there at some point.
I don't know. Okay, we'll figure it out.
And then, chemicals, so that's your, weed killers, things of that nature.
Fertilizer, stuff like that.
are you licensed to do that now?
I will be next week.
Nice.
Yay!
Nice.
Congratulations, sir.
Woohoo.
I'm not a very good test taker.
No.
Doing just fine.
Yeah. Next week, it was, yeah.
Candace, like, we got this.
We got this. Let's cheerlead him on.
Small tools. And with parks and that, usually they are small. Custodial supplies, trash bags and that usually come out of the general side of things. Cause we buy trash bags for the shop and
Yep.
we use the same trash
All over.
bags all over town, so.
Okay.
Professional services, we typically, I think since I've been with the town, I think we've used professional services with parks once.
And what would that mean?
We hired, I wanna say it was True Green to come and do some work with trees. Vehicle expenses. We've been lucky on that one. We've recently replaced that vehicle as well.
And which vehicle are you referencing?
It's no longer here. The old red pickup.
That one is-
I think it was a Chevy, I think.
Okay.
Gasoline, diesel fuel, same sort of thing. I keep the diesel fuel in there cause I think the Ryder mower does use diesel. Both the 4320s use diesel. Equipment expense, so I can pull the skid steer with parks. We have that little Bobcat. I don't know if you guys have seen it, that little white mini loader.
Oh.
We can pull out of that for this, in the 4320s. Vehicle licensing, equipment. maintenance and service agreements, and reimbursable.
Any questions on parks?
Okay, so now you're gonna jump to your enterprise fund expenses.
Yes,
We're gonna
wastewater.
jump into wastewater.
Lexi, by the way, nicely done with.
Dishwater, alright.
Why, thank you. I was
Very
trying to make it
well organized here.
as
Very-
user-friendly
very
as
nice.
possible.
Very nice.
Okay, so Danny's wages come out of wastewater. And he is second in command.
Yes.
Oh, and because the wages are higher on this one, 20% of her wages, 20% of my wages, and 20% of Jan's come out of this budget as well. So ours gets spread out through his 3 enterprise budgets.
Okay.
Because a lot of our time is dedicated to utility billing, stuff like that.
And answering the phones for me, so I don't have to.
Sending work orders, doing, so.
That's why Robert doesn't have a
Admin.
direct
Yeah,
line.
payroll, so we spread out our wages because we spend a lot of time in the enterprise area, so. So that's why the wages are higher.
Okay.
Because there is a percentage of our stuff in there.
So any questions on that? Skip down to dues and subscriptions. Same sort of deal. I mean, I try and spread it out a little bit. Registrations, travel expenses, lodging and meals, again, we really typically don't travel. Credit card and bank charges.
That's like our fees for utility bills when they pay it. Because we have online for express bill pay, so that comes out of wastewater, the 3 enterprise ones. So our monthly fee for using their service and then the credit card charges and all that is in that line item.
So then I've got my office supplies and printing. I always try and keep some in those.
And that would be for like door hangers and stuff that they have printed specific for that department. Stuff like that.
Oh,
Back,
no, that's in water, backflow sheets.
yes.
That's in water.
But we just ordered utility cards
Mhm.
to sign up, and so I spread that between the 3 enterprise to sign up for water, sewer, garbage.
Envelopes.
Envelopes I put in general, a little bit in general, I think, and then spread it out through the enterprise because mostly our envelopes go to utility billing.
Can you opt out of trash?
Mm-mm.
Here
If,
in town, no.
yeah,
Unless you're commercial. The
If you're commercial.
residential, no.
That's where I was curious of like how that worked.
And then Brookhurst, since they are technically in the county, they have the option to use us or different entity. But yeah, if you're in Evansville, we don't want people
Yeah.
using other people's bins or the dumpsters.
That becomes a
Going.
whole different conversation
going.
in itself.
I saved myself $22 this month. I used somebody else's.
I've been in a few of those conversations with residents myself as of late. So I understand.
safety equipment and uniforms. So I try and use up the enterprise line items first before I go into the general. Telephone, other utilities, postage. Again, utility billing, things of that nature. First aid supplies. And then a big one, repairs and maintenance sewer line. So I usually ask for quite a bit in there. And those are for emergencies, things that need to be repaired, things that need to be upgraded. I'd rather have that money, so as it happens throughout the year, my crew and I can just get it taken care of without calling mayor and council members at 3 o'clock in the
That's just you.
morning, asking to spend money.
Just go ahead.
Now, Robert,
So-
correct me if I'm wrong,
It is
because
necessary.
you and I have had some prior conversations, and this is maybe just something that as council, we need to start thinking about, but we do have aging sewer structure systems in the town of Evansville.
That would be correct. A lot of our sewer lines are clay tile. So I don't know how in the loop everybody has been, but we did have a bit of an incident a month or two ago with a sewer line. And that sewer line needs to be dealt with. We need to do something with it, otherwise we're gonna be having bigger issues down the road. Shane's aware, the town engineer is aware, and we're looking at options to get that rectified. And then once I know more, I'll inform the council more.
But at some point down
That's
the line, we're
underneath
going to discussion.
Underneath the railroad one, correct? Is that what
Correct.
we're talking about?
Yes.
So obviously that's that one that I know that city had made comment about, that the railroad being not as easy to work with or getting things. And so is that where Shane comes in and trying to get them to be fine that we are going next to and going
It's so,
under?
there's other routes that we can take if it'll allow us for the proper slope. If we can achieve the proper slope, we can go a different way. However, we may not be able to do that and may be forced to bore underneath and replace the line underneath the railroad. So basically, we might be able to reroute it.
How do we reroute it? It's gotta go underneath the railroad.
We can reroute it directly to the 201. Where we were digging that day
Right,
with Casper's manhole,
right.
we can just take it straight across underneath Evans and drop it directly into the 201. That way we can avoid going underneath, but a lot of that depends on how deep that manhole is over on the other side of Evans and how deep the line
Right.
is at the 201.
Right,
Because if we can't get the proper slope, that's not
right, it's
gonna
not
work.
gonna work.
So with the aging sewer lines, with the discussion of the 6 cent tax, with the discussion of impact funds, with the discussion of all the other discussions we've had up to this point, because we're gonna have to be thinking about the aging sewer system in the older parts of town, is that also something that we could look at in those areas as well?
Well, and it's not just
Okay.
sewer, you've got water that's aging,
Yep.
we have streets that need to be resurfaced. And I'm the type of person to where I do not want to resurface a street without doing the utilities underneath it.
Agree.
I realize that adds a significant chunk of money to the project, however, you can resurface a street, contractor gets done, it becomes our problem, and then bang, we got a water leak, guess what we're doing?
Ripping
We're
up that
tearing up
street.
that brand new street.
And just for clarification, how old are the sewer lines? I mean, I know you and I have had discussions about this, but council was not in the room when we had this discussion.
So some of them, I believe the parts over there off of Bighorn, it's a cheaper plastic pipe, real thin walled. So I'm talking Curtis, Bighorn, Holmes, Missouri, that neck of the woods.
Is that the one that reminds you of Eggshell?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those were probably done, I would say 80s, 90s.
Well, if you're
Janelle,
talking
correct me if
Bighorn,
I'm wrong.
Albany, those areas over there were built in the late 60s.
Mhm.
And then as you move down, then early 70s on the vistas and.
Yeah.
But the lines that are clay tile, those are the oldest lines in town.
Thank you for that clarification, so everybody was up to speed on that.
So I do have a mandatory upgrade for our SCADA system. It's an $18,000 upgrade.
What's
So
your
what,
SCADA system?
well, I'll get there.
Oh, okay.
That's a great question, though.
Yeah, I'll get
I was
there.
like, that's a term I
So
haven't
what I
heard.
did was, I paid half of it in this budget cycle, and I'll pay the other half with this coming up budget cycle. I was able to work that out with the contractor. So our SCADA system is a monitoring piece of equipment. So it's a little box that's in each one of our lift stations. And it monitors the level of the wastewater. It records that information, and it also has alarms on it. So let's say I have a power outage somewhere in town and it affects one of my lift stations. The SCADA system will actually call the person that is on call to send them out on site to make sure that the generator's running and everything's okay, so that we can continue on with our day. It's also got alarms on it for high water. So your we have 2 levels of high water. You have a high water level where, we need to get out there and start dealing with the situation. And then you have an extreme high water, that's when things start going real bad, real fast. So this is an essential piece of equipment that we need to keep upgraded. And basically what this upgrade is going from 3G to 5G. Any questions on repairs and maintenance? Thankfully, we don't use chemicals anymore for our sewage treatment. Casper handles all that for us.
And we pay them dearly for it.
Yes, we do. We're coming up to that here real quick.
Mhm. Phew. Think
Small
it's-
tools.
In the long run, I think it's worth it.
We have found some flashlights. So when we received our vac truck, it came with a floodlight that has been extremely helpful and extremely effective. It's a pretty good light, so I was looking at getting 3 or 4 more of those, and they're very expensive. Hence the discussion of keeping track of tools. Custodial supplies, again, usually try and pull that out of the shop one. Professional services, so those would be like,
That's your, a portion of the audit goes into that line.
When we got the lines imaged, would have been out of that line as well?
yes,
Yeah.
but
I
it
was
wasn't
curious.
pulled out of there because Casper was there out of their
Mhm.
good neighborly.
No, yeah, that's where it was more of kind of figuring.
Yes, that
would
that
be-
sort of thing.
Okay.
So here's the big one for sanitary sewer. 201 sewer charges. So the town of Evansville, we do not treat wastewater. All the wastewater for the town of Evansville and out towards Hat 6, with the exception of Brookhurst, goes to Casper. Casper treats all of our water through the 201. And of course, a lot of that cost is dependent on usage. So we have a meter out there at Hat 6, we have a meter over here at Knife River, and what they do is they're tracking the flow and then keeping track of the numbers, and we get charged accordingly. So if we have a good year and citizens aren't using as much water, we're not being charged as much in our sewer. Which has been the case a few times, if we have a water leak and it happens to be coming up out of the ground and directly into a manhole, our 201 charges are gonna go up.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of that is heavily dependent on usage. Tap fees, We typically don't do sewer taps. We do that. We usually hire contractors or have the company hire the contractor. Vehicle expense, this is an older vehicle. Looks like we've been pulling gasoline from another line item. And then diesel fuel, I kind of went over that briefly with the vac truck. Pulling diesel fuel out of various line item budgets. Equipment expense. This one will hopefully will start working its way down. With the purchase of the new vac truck.
You still loving it?
Oh God, yes. That truck has saved my bacon so far this year. I think it was well worth the purchase. I honestly.
It's good
It
to
was
hear,
a
yeah.
necessary expenditure.
The guys have gotten extremely proficient at soft digging. Skipping down to 5073-870 insurance. And our other, got your two insurance line items, maintenance and service agreements. Those are line items I typically don't mess too much with. Depreciation, operating transfer out, equipment principal, interest, and reimbursable expense. Those are things in my years here, I've never really messed with too much.
Any questions on that section?
Go to distribution.
Water distribution?
Should be right behind it. Robert's wages come out of here. And then mine, Janelle, and Jan's too.
Skipping down to credit card and bank charges, 5075-250.
Same as distribution.
So I'm assuming those are bill pay, things of that nature.
Yeah. Distribution, sanitation, wastewater. I split it all between the three.
Office supplies I've been keeping at 0. Printing, that's your guys' printing, correct?
Envelopes, utility, sign-up cards.
Yeah.
Safety equipment
Stuff
and
of that nature would
uniforms.
be pulled from that.
I left that one alone for this year. Or nope, I did drop it. Telephone, water, sewer, and sanitation. And that's what we pay to us, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Electricity, postage, that's handled town hall. First aid supplies. And repairs and maintenance distribution, it's the same as repairs and maintenance collections, just water line related. Small tools. I dropped that down by half. Custodial supplies is at 0. Professional services.
Audit as well. Majority of that line item. I think I spread it over 6 different budget areas.
And then, of course, vehicle expense. Getting into some of our older vehicles. Gasoline and diesel fuel. Equipment equipment expense, that would be backhoe loader, skid steer, things of that nature. Skipping, no, then that's pretty much the last of what it is that I have a tendency to manipulate.
Well said.
Any questions on water distribution?
And we will go to sanitation. Chris, our new hire there, gets pulled from sanitation.
So dropping down safety equipment and uniforms, I've left that one alone. Doesn't look like we've been pulling telephone for quite a few years. Town hall does the postage. First aid and supplies. Repairs and maintenance. So those would be like our rollouts, our big 1.5 yards, 3 yards, things of that nature. For minor repairs, I've got a line item further down for some of the bigger things. We really don't do anything chemical wise with sanitation. Small tools, we'll be purchasing some tools here in a short while. Custodial supplies, again, that comes out of the general. Professional services, I'm not sure on that one.
Audit.
Audit. I would bump that one back up, Robert.
Back up.
Yeah, cause we just paid like 2 bills, or we're getting ready to pay another one too.
What would we
So
be
bump that
budgeting?
back up to 6. Yeah, please.
Nuisance control,
She finished it at the end of March, so.
haven't really done anything with that, so I left it at 0. Bail field charges, so I have a little note, we can probably drop it down a little bit, but I'd rather be safer than sorry and keep it at where it's at, cause again,
Yes.
that all depends on how much we're hauling off. And we'll have years where citizens aren't utilizing as much the sanitation services, and then we have
And
years
when-
where,
When people use their bail fill passes, it comes out of that line item too, cause we do get charged for that.
so if need be, we can drop a little bit, but I would prefer to leave it as is.
Me too, Robert.
Mm-hmm.
Vehicle expense, again, we're getting into older vehicles. Gasoline. I dropped to zero, cause sanitation, we don't have a gasoline vehicle in there. Diesel fuel, I dropped it down a little bit, cause I got a little nervous last year and thought diesel was gonna go through the roof, and thankfully it didn't. Equipment expense. So I'd kinda like to start doing some repairs to the lift structure to the garbage trucks.
Can you explain to the council what's going on with the garbage trucks?
So our garbage trucks are aging out. They're extremely expensive pieces of equipment. So basically what you'll be doing is purchasing a truck and then paying a contractor to build the body and the lift structure. So for the most part, the trucks are in pretty good shape. It's the lift structure that we're having struggles with now. So our hydraulic hoses, the piece of the truck that actually picks the dumpsters up off the ground and dumps it. Those, we can probably do some work on those, get them a little bit tighter so things aren't moving around as much and causing damage to itself to help minimize costs with that. But it's a very expensive endeavor.
And we would just need to be covering one lift structure
I would be looking at just doing 123 for now, because that's the older truck.
Can we do both of them?
That was gonna be my next thought. Because technically on that lift structure, I mean,
I
let's
mean,
be
not at the
honest,
same
like,
time, but
we've got duct tape and glue keeping it together.
So
if
the
we're to have
duct
an
tape
honest
thing,
conversation.
I'm gonna chalk that off as a design flaw. We've been trying to work at it for years, the entire time I've been employed here. Where that duct tape is, there's these two rectangular clamps basically that are supposed to be there. We have replaced those clamps so many times throughout my time being here that you'll put them on the rack, you'll dump a dumpster a few times, and what's happening is those clamps are hitting the top of the truck and it's snapping them right off. When it snaps those off, it grabs those hoses and the hoses start going everywhere, then you're pinching hoses. So when those get damaged, not only are you replacing the clamps, but you're replacing the hoses. So what we've started doing is taking duct tape and just duct taping those hoses to the frame, is what the duct tape is doing.
so if we had that lift structure rebuilt, would that rectify that issue?
No, so
Yeah.
what's happening is as the arms are coming up, those clamps are hitting the top of the truck. So there's not much room basically between the top of the truck and where those arms come into the truck.
Can you cut out the top of the truck?
We've tried that. So as you're picking bins up and down, you have that base rack, the base structure that grabs onto the bin.
Mm-hmm.
That floats.
Right.
So it moves around a little bit, whether it moves this way or that, it just depends. And I want to hesitate with cutting somebody loose on the top of a garbage truck with a cutting torch.
That was a very expensive garbage truck, so.
Robert, for the,
Like, let's just cut a hole
is
in
it
it.
between 300 and 500,000 per garbage truck? Is that used or is that a new garbage truck?
That would probably be, 500 would be new.
500 would be, okay.
And I have spoke with Floyd's Trucking. That is the company that we had gotten, I believe, our previous two. I know we've gotten one from them. But the gentleman come by and seen me, I'd say about a month ago. There are some changes coming down with regulations in the exhaust side of things. So what they have to do is they have to start including heaters into the DEF system. That'll keep the DEF system functioning at the intended temperatures. That's gonna add a significant cost to the price of trucks. So if we can get into a truck this year, we can probably avoid that. But at the same time, if we do that, then we'll still be fighting with the DEF system problems that they're experiencing. So we can get something now and fight with the DEF issues, or we can wait. I don't want to buy a first gen truck. I want to see if they've rectified said issues. I don't want to spend $500,000 on a first gen piece of equipment and find out that it didn't fix anything, it just made everything worse. Then we're gonna have a garbage truck that's spending more time at a shop than it is out doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Besides the handheld piece, are the garbage trucks fully functioning and fully running at this point in time?
We do what we can with what we've got.
Okay,
That being said, there are a couple of design flaws with those trucks that at any given moment, it can put us in a jam. So the PTO shaft, the thing that runs the hydraulics, runs right through the center of the radiator. So if something goes wrong with that shaft, like a U-joint or something goes bad, that shaft comes off, goes through the radiator and tears the radiator up. So now we're replacing a PTO shaft, a U-joint, and a radiator. It's just things like that with those trucks, and they're starting to get up there in age.
how old are they?
One is, I wanna say 15 and the other one's around 10.
2010, 2015, 16, something like that.
We were just getting it when I started in
Yeah,
15.
150 was purchased when I started, 123 was here before I got here.
So is it worth putting 17,000 into the 2010, or are we better off to replace it? Mechanically, the truck itself, not counting the lift.
The trucks up to this point have been decent. They haven't been perfect, but we've had some issues, just not the issues that you would be expecting with something that is used on a daily basis
So your
for 8
major,
hours a day.
your major issue is the arms.
Yes, right now the biggest issue is the lift structures.
So can we budget for replace both of them next budget year?
Mm, That's an awful lot of work to be doing with everything else we've got going on.
Oh, you guys are doing the work?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were taking them in to do.
No.
Oh,
You take them in somewhere, you lose the truck until they're done.
So what would it cost for us to do both replacements?
Material wise,
mm-hmm.
probably about 30.
So 123 is 25 years. No, 15 years old. 15 years old. Is that truck, do you run that truck daily?
No. How we work the sanitation trucks is they're on a rotating schedule. So we'll run one truck for an entire week. At the end of that week, that truck goes to the shop, it gets oiled, it gets greased, it gets its regular PM, it gets inspected. Any repairs in that need to be made are made, and then the other truck goes out for the next week. So we rotate them out on a weekly basis. That helps keep wear and tear down on one truck and kind of spreads out the pain a little bit.
Lexi, can we account for the additional 13,000?
Yeah.
To replace both? Okay. So we're gonna add 13,000 to replace both. Is everybody thoughts on that? Any thoughts at all?
It's a lot of work for my guys to do with everything else we've got
Well,
going.
You'll be authorized to do it. If you can get it done this year, great. But
At least get the parts ordered and
get
on the way.
Get that much covered.
Because we don't know how much the parts are gonna be.
Of
down
A
the
course.
year from now.
Well,
Yeah.
with the cost of iron and.
Yeah. We're not saying it has to be done, but if you can purchase what you need to accomplish both.
Yeah.
Okay, into
Let's
another
do it.
section, any further questions on equipment expense?
None.
Alright, so back into things I typically don't mess with too much. New equipment. So this is a line item I've been using to refurbish some of our aging bins. So the larger bins, like your 1.5 yards and your 3 yards. A couple of years ago, I had priced out what it would cost to order new ones and have them delivered versus repairing what we have. Now, going through what we had, I determined that it would probably be cheaper and easier just to repair what we have. Some of the bins that were in really bad shape that were a little bit beyond repair have been sent to the recycling center already. So what we're doing is we have some bins down in our lagoon area, and we're pulling those up to the shop. We're sandblasting them, getting them cleaned up real good, making any welds in that need to be done to help strengthen the bin a little bit, priming and painting. Putting new lids, putting new caps, all that fine and wonderful stuff. If you guys would like to see an example of what it is that my guys have done, the new Puppy Pound 1.5 yards was a rebuilt 1.5 yards.
Okay.
So the 6,000 would be material for things of that nature. And then I've got 12,000 for this budget cycle. I'm getting ready to hit that today or probably Monday because I have to talk to Lexi about the company I order rollouts from. They want a physical PO they can hold in their hand.
We have one for the, who is it for fire department that they want the physical
Oh, it's the Reeds.
reads?
So I'll have 100 rollouts coming, 100 new rollouts coming. Because what I'm doing, you probably are more familiar with the rollouts than Alana, but the older brown ones, I'm phasing those out. I'm replacing those with the bigger grayer. I think they're a little better built.
Okay.
Maybe the wind won't blow them away as easy.
I didn't say that.
I think what we really should do on all of those new bends, we spray paint the number of the house on top of them, so when they go flying away, people can return them back to the house number, or they know whose it is.
Who would be responsible for making sure that those numbers stay on the bin?
Well, just spray paint.
I think they did like a white, like a paint pen or something.
Something.
On
Just
ours,
throwing
when
an
we lived in
address.
Casper, it
Just,
had the address on it.
just an address on it. I mean, even if it's just a house number in general. Because there's been numerous times I'm like, there's 3 or 4 of them sitting there. I'm like, which ones? Whose is whose?
So I've thought of that, but it's an awful lot of painting for a short-handed crew.
Okay, that's fair.
I agree. There's other methods that we can do as well. If you look at some of those, there's actually serial numbers on the side of those.
Mhm.
I've been working on a database that we can track with our tablets, where you type in the serial number, type in the address. But
It seems like
that
more
would
work.
only be helpful for somebody that had access to said database.
Right, it
and
seems like more work than spray painting a number on it.
not if you're just taking a picture.
Starting the access, getting it all going would.
It's already done.
Okay.
Could we put QR codes on it and we, okay,
Whose bin is this?
Hey, those QR codes, they're amazing.
Details.
Just saying, they're amazing.
Or we could encourage our residents to paint their own trash cans of like decorate their trash cans. Put your
I
face
don't-
on there.
I don't know if I'd go that
Well,
far.
I could see some really ugly.
Uh-huh.
Well, we do have residents that do that. We've got a trash can here in town that's got a stormtrooper on it.
Well, that's awesome.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I was
I
thinking.
don't think I've seen that one.
I was thinking, yeah.
Moving on to the next.
next line.
So it looked in, yeah, the rest of these are things I don't mess with.
Is what it is.
Yep.
So then Lexi, are we adding, we're adding 4,000 to 50, 76, 450. And then we're adding 13,000 to 50, 76, 530.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
17,000 total.
Yes, ma'am. You
Okay.
got it.
Well, then my last page is now useless.
He was showing us what he saved.
Yeah.
You did
Well,
very
that's-
good, Robert.
That's also equally wonderful for you to show us that as well.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, for doing that. So Robert, in terms of because we started having a discussion about the possible 6 cent tax discussion for fire department. Let's just say for argument's sake, for Public Works as a whole, because I've been making some notes as we've been going through this. Obviously, the sewer lines, tractors, the 40 through 20s, the garbage trucks. Would there be anything else on the list in terms of things that you would want for Public Works, like vehicles, upgrades, whatever it might look, so that we can at least wrap our minds around it?
So we've got a couple of vehicles that should probably be replaced.
Which ones?
We've got an older Dodge. The transmission light has been on it for the last 4 years. And we take it in to get it looked at and nobody seems to be able to do anything about it.
Is that the one that we replaced the transmission on?
The silver Dodge,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize we
And what is
replaced it
that
already.
vehicle being used for?
Yeah, I thought we replaced the, didn't we fix the transmission in the silver Dodge?
I know Danny did some work with it, and cleaned out the filters and that.
It's back when James was here,
I'm gonna say this would have been,
3 years ago or so.
say 4 or 5.
And what does the silver Dodge get used for?
Well, all of our vehicles pretty much get used for the same thing, whatever it is that we're doing at the time.
Okay,
So, streets, water, sewer, just everything.
okay. Any other vehicles and or items we need to be wrapping our minds around for future?
Oh, 420.
Not that I can think of
Sanitation
offhand.
truck.
Yeah, sanitation trucks, but we've
Yeah.
touched on them
Okay.
already.
Did you talk about another dump truck?
We should probably start looking at
Okay.
replacing dump trucks. We did purchase one from the city of Casper, 5 years ago now?
Is that
The tandem,
the Freightliner or the Sterling?
the Sterling.
Okay.
That was used from city of Casper. It's got over 100,000 on it.
Did you qualify for that grant for the diesel engine?
The vehicle that I was looking to replace was a year too old.
Oh, was it
Yes.
for that grant?
And what I was trying to do is I have two trucks that should probably just go away. I was trying to replace one so I could keep 2 trucks in service and then have a third one as a spare. Because part of that grant, what we had to do was put a hole in the engine block. So by accepting that grant, I had to destroy a truck that was running. So I tried to find a truck that I didn't mind so much if they put a hole in the block.
Got it.
And it was a year too old.
And just to re-clarify, there's nothing that Public Works that your department needs that's not on these things in terms of equipment, computers, phones.
We need computers and that, but I was assuming all that was being handled through the IT guy.
Are you talking about like upgrades to your computers or things that you need
Replacements.
replacements?
That would be in your
And so you'll
department.
have to put it in your department budget
Sorry.
and then you definitely go through Jed, but
Mhm.
Yeah, because he told me I would get information back on what needed to be done and
Well, he's
Oh,
gonna do an inventory on the computers and see what needs to be replaced, the age of them, where they're lifed out, I guess.
so I'd
Um,
hurry up and wait. Is that what I'm doing?
Well, I think it's more about how many computers do you need replaced for Public
or
Works?
how many do you think maybe?
Yeah,
3.
I mean,
3. And the rest of them work and they function and they're completely.
That's all we have. It's
Okay.
3.
Okay, so we just need
Everything.
3.
is that what, a tower at the shop and then the 2 laptops, or
Lexi?
what is that?
No, the
Which
laptop we
one?
have is brand new
Okay,
because we got,
How much would
your
3
old
cost
one.
us?
okay.
or not yours, but the one that was.
Yeah,
what we paid
yeah.
ours.
No, the computers we have, the towers we have at the shop were bought when Dan was here, right after I
Okay.
started, so those
So
are
you need 3 towers.
3 towers.
3
Do
towers.
you need any screens? Any?
I know you want to be frugal, sir,
I'm
but
going to say no, because they work just fine.
Kind of like us, we replaced
Yeah,
the
we only
towers,
replace our
but-
towers because our screens are
okay, so
just
we
fine.
need 3 towers.
What did we pay for ours?
Well,
Was it
around
1,000?
15? I
But
was
now that
thinking
I
they were
said
like
that,
14
guess what's gonna
something.
happen
A
when I go to
piece.
the shop?
But, with
Just
how much
real quick. Screen
and
broke.
everything, I just wonder if we should maybe consider
2,000.
2,000.
For all 3 of them?
You don't need to replace
Each.
laptops or anything,
No.
just the 3 towers.
No, they're
So-
switching
So I wonder
to,
if we hit split the cost
6,000.
between
All 6 of them? All 6 sections?
all three towers, $6,000, all 6 sections.
My only caveat is the one that goes in for my office needs to have a minimum terabyte hard drive.
I think that's what ours have.
Yeah, and I think if we do 2,000, I mean,
think our
overall, I
towers
think
are
we would
the
be
terabyte.
okay.
Okay.
2,000 each, a total of 6,000. I think that should be safe, huh?
Well, because we just added 17,000 to that, to the last
That's
section.
enterprise though.
Oh, okay, okay.
If you go to your summary page, these were the proposed, this is the proposed revenue,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
our
yeah, yeah.
overage, so. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I tried to make up the time fire department stole.
Expenses.
So that's what we're over right now.
Expenditures under,
Oh, okay,
Revenue.
gotcha. Oh, okay, oof,
no,
okay.
no, other way.
Nope, you're fine.
I wouldn't
I'm
have
good.
had that
My
tone
brain
if we
didn't
were
wrap
the
my
other
mind
way,
around
I'd be
it.
like,
No.
and this number would be in red.
I would
told
read
me
that
it was
number.
good.
Yes, if it's a negative number, we go with the
Okay,
red, so it
okay.
grabs your attention.
I'm just gonna,
So I don't have an issue with,
adding, yeah. I know, sir, that you like to be super frugal in your area, but I also know that
You
if
need
things need to
compu-
be
yeah, we don't need
replaced, we
computers.
wanna make sure that you guys have functional
going
equipment.
down.
It's very important to have functional equipment.
Well, and with Windows 10 going away, it's going to be a security risk.
Okay, so.
Yeah, and we don't need,
Because none of those computers are gonna be able to run 11.
yeah.
So he's not using his personal?
I don't know if we've ever done that. That we don't give out his number to residents or
True.
anybody.
Very true. Okay,
I
scratch
think
that.
that's why we have,
Whose number?
Oh, what?
Danny, I was asking whether or not if Danny being your number 2, if he needs his own phone or not. Because I know that you have a separate phone and I know that Mark, being the number 2 for Leo over in Fire, has a separate.
I would be open to that, because then it would open him up to,
yeah, cause we don't give out his personal cell
Yeah,
number.
Yeah,
well,
of course
but
not.
he's also gotta be careful with what he does on his phone.
Yes,
Because if his personal phone, if he's
Town stuff.
handling work things with his personal phone, that opens him up to
That is
FOIA
correct.
information.
That is correct. And him being your number 2, if you're not available, he would need to be available.
Yes,
So would he take your phone? Or take that phone?
I would prefer that not to happen, because I've got things on my phone that doesn't necessarily need to be.
That's not a number 2's
no, we would,
requirement.
we call Danny's personal phone, we do, but I'm more open to give that cell number out because it is work specific. I'm not gonna
Well,
give
see,
somebody's
I don't give-
personal cell number.
That's funny, cause I'm like, that cell phone, I'm like, you call the shop, or call town hall. Like, that's why I'm like, I did give no
Oh,
one
yeah,
your number.
I appreciate that.
But no,
That's why I'm bringing it
call
up, 'cause I
town
know
hall,
Mark's
call
got
town
one.
hall.
And that's why I'm bringing it up, because Danny is Robert's number 2. Mark is
If
Leo's number
Danny-
2.
If Danny would like one, then I don't have an issue with it, but if he wants to carry around 2 phones, I know some people don't like to.
Do you think he'd be open to that? So that gives him a level of protection on his side as well?
I don't care if he's open to it or not.
Well, we would like to ask, communicate.
I think it would be a wise thing for him to separate work from personal, because like I said, if he's handling work things on his personal phone, that opens his personal phone to freedom of information.
Is that something we can budget for, Lexi?
Yeah, it would be a minor. Just like yours is what, $30-$40 a month?
Yeah.
You know, it's not a,
Yeah.
a major
Okay,
expenditure.
then, let Sir Danny know that
He's getting a phone.
he's getting a phone. Cause Mark's got a phone too, and he's the number 2 guy over there, so.
Alright, so I'll have to run over some ground rules with him then.
Okay. anything else that you need and or are questioning whether or not if you need for Public Works?
No, I appreciate the openness of when I do need something, all I gotta do is get a hold of you guys and it gets taken care of, so that's how I'm running this on a basis as.
In terms of the number of folks that you currently have in your department, are you guys able to maintain what you guys have got going on?
Gonna be a struggle.
Okay.
Especially while I get these guys trained up.
Okay.
I think that's what we're running into right now. Is getting everybody trained up and comfortable with what they're doing.
Okay.
So I can start cutting people off and getting
Let-
things done.
And letting them do their stuff. Okay. The state has informed me, several legislators have informed me that the state is not gonna have their actual numbers in terms of property tax cuts. They're not gonna have the confirmed numbers until maybe June, mid-June, is what I'm being told right now. So,
It is what it is. Ain't nothing I can do about it.
okay,
I can tell you, just from my property tax notice that I got last weekend, it was about $275 less.
It was almost 500. Went from like 2,100 to 16 something.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can live with that.
so just for argument's sake, because we started having that discussion with fire, and I'm not gonna leave Public Works out of this as well. Initially, when all of the property tax cut discussions started, with this legislative session, and we had went ahead and we'd have the discussion about holding off on any kind of new hires, any kind of stuff like that. I'm wondering if we need to think about budgeting for that last position or leave it where it's at because we don't have the confirmed numbers yet. Any thoughts on that?
I'll see what I can do
Um,
for the time being, as long as a possibility is there, that
Yes.
if I start getting overwhelmed and things aren't getting done the way they need
Then
to be
we
get
could
done, that
potentially
we
look at it.
revisit.
Because the other thing that I don't know if it's factored in the budget is if we have to bring on somebody part-time for the animal shelter. Is that in these numbers? Okay.
Yeah.
Mine?
No, not
in the
yours.
summary, she's
Not yours.
Oh, wait a
she's
minute.
pointing to the
In
summary.
the summary, yeah.
Different area.
But it would come out of general government, and I don't know, because where would you utilize them at? If you brought on somebody else all over?
Another full-time guy?
Yeah.
We'd be back to full staff and I'd be doing
Which
what,
budget would we be getting?
oh. I would prefer that all of my budgets come out of
Enterprise.
Well, yeah, we too,
Well,
but
in a perfect world, but
We're just gonna throw
So if you're
breaks in
gonna
that.
ask me where I want it to come from, that's where I want it to come from.
Well, we
It's
did ask him a
enterprise.
direct question. He's giving us a direct answer. Okay, but if we were going to look at that, is that something that we could look at? If we were going to potentially bring on that last final person for Public Works. Okay, I just wanna make sure so that we're not leaving Robert in the wind here, making sure that there's an understanding of.
Because we had that
Looking at
meeting
that.
with Whedon Pest
Yep,
a month, 2 months ago, and
and
they're washing their hands of some areas and I get to take them over.
because Weed and Pest, they've lost some funding in regards to current things that are happening, which also means they're going to be down some staff as well. And yeah, so I just want to make sure that he knows where everything's at.
yes,
Okay,
it's not a permanent,
it's not a permanent thing.
Oh,
Okay,
it's a
well said.
temporary, it's a temporary.
it's a temporary for right now.
Anything else from me?
I gotta pick your brain on the garden,
Uh-oh.
but I mean, it doesn't have
Thank
to
you,
be
sir.
this stuff.
well, do I dare log out?
Yes, we did.
Feel like, can
Yes, log out.
pause?
And then we'll be back at 1, folks.
Back at
1
one.
for